よしよし、始めましょう。新しいモニターというか、私昨日までですね、テレビにパソコンをつないでですね、配信をしていたわけなんですが、ゲーム実況を等々していたわけなんですが、ついにですね、ゲーミングモニターというものをですね、購入いたしまして、はい、それで始めております。ちょっとね、設定等々してね、多分大丈夫そうなので配信を開始いたしました。おそらく元のパソコンがノート PC ですので、はい、ノート PC ですので、スペック的にね、そんなにパソコンが変わったわけじゃないので、あんまり綺麗に劇的に変わったかどうかは別として、ただ気持ち一点、ゲーミングモニターが家にあるという喜びでね、そういうテンションのまま配信をしていきたいと思います。本日は ALGS のヨーロッパですね、EMEA のウィーク表記じゃないな、デイ7やって、もう終盤も終盤ですね。これで決まるのか、これともう1周かなで決まるのかな。はい、ですので、もうほぼほぼ上位チーム、世界大会行くチームがほぼ見えてくる、ここはもう確定だろうなみたいなチームが出てくる所存でございます。大体ですね、前回の感じで言うと、このね、プレイスメントポイントで言うと、大体86から90、90近辺、90取っとくと、安全圏かなみたいな、ボーダーラインに世界大会のラインになると思います。ですので、今ね、70、80、この辺かな。C のチームが圧倒的に試合数が少ないので、C のチームは、全然、上位チームは、C の中で上位チームは全然安全圏内で、A と B で言うと、試合数が少ないので、今70ぐらいかな。70ぐらい、アセンドぐらいまでは安心できそう。で、パイオニアからホライゾンユニオンぐらいまでは、パイオニア 2R1C は多分このまんまいけば SFFUT ホライゾンユニオンこの50代のところは結構きついんじゃないかな、結構ボーダーギリじゃないかなっていうラインですね。残りの試合でいい点数を取らないと8、9以内、その10枠かな、ヨーロッパは10枠の中には入れないんじゃないかというね、そんな感じになっております。では早速1試合目見ていきましょう。これあれだな、分かれてねえな。画質悪い。失礼。分かれてるね。ではもう早速行きたいね。ベクスト、ファイアビバーズ、アライアンス、アセント、パイオニア。この辺はもうずっと変わりません。もう最初の週からずっと上位だね、この辺はね。だからもう早速見ていきましょう。今日は多分ね、C かな ?C とどこだ？頼むぞ、パソコン。ニューモニターなんだから。ちょっとエベックスな。
Alright, Zephyr, it's just us now, and with points, ludicrous amounts of rations and
all stands point zone-oriented meta that we currently exist within, no one's doing it.
I joked about it before the show, but sometimes it feels like they're not.
アライアンスが B だから C と B だね。BC です。BC の試合を見ていきます。
Play relatively safe on the edge.
初動をかぶってるね。チェックポイントでかぶってる。
landing hot at checkpoint.
チェックポイントで
フェニックス
レガシーかな。フェニックスレガシーとジェイリングスポーツ。ここで B と C が当たるのがだいぶ週が空いてるから、前かぶってたかどうかも覚えてないんですが。
Taking a look at where Noises is positioned. You got yourself a purple shield. Wingman's not bad in an early game fight either. We were talking about this earlier, but the alternator, a jack of all trades during the early stages of a game. So J-Lings are feeling plenty confident as they push up, take even more space and checkpoint, and appear to have won the fight really before it starts.
Well, obviously, this lower section of checkpoint still well and available for Phoenix Legacy to get their hands on, and notably, it shouldn't leave them with too much worry. When we talk about teams being pushed out of a certain POI, we start to discuss delays in looting paths and rotations. And as you can tell, likely from that minimap,
フェニックスレガシはトップ10入ってないから、今日は安定したポイントを稼ぎたいというところで、
And the fact that we can already tell from the minimap means that Phoenix Legacy were able to pick up that scan as well. They should be able to set up really comfortably in checkpoints, and even looking at the bigger picture, there's actually a really decent chance that it pulls into checkpoint proper. Normally when we go up here, I'm thinking down to beast, but Zephyr, how does this look to you?
Oh, I might have to disagree. I'm feeling the downed beast here, especially that kind of tail-oriented end. When we talk about the literal beast itself here, Aurora will have that potentially to themselves to make first pickings, but as Phoenix Legacy is making their rotation, Unite onlyはthey themselves starting to rush away and take themselves to the happy home.
It's a nice, interesting rotation early. I think Phoenix Legacy, of course, not expecting to have to rotate as quickly over towards Mill. KCP, same thing. They run into each other, they trade a bit of damage, but both continue on their respective rotates. If we do see a team like Phoenix Legacy get into a fight, though, we gotta be worried they're not running something like a seer. It very well changed the course of a fight for them. J-Lings encountering a little bit more action again in checkpoint. Put themselves on the high ground once more and still have a great position to defend River. They're running Watson as well, so being able to bunker down share space and checkpoint, really doable for both these squads.
フェニックスレガシーにちょっと当たられちゃったからね、物資少ない状態で、ただ移動もできないみたいな感じになっちゃったね。紫青だからまあ悪くはないね、競技で言うと。飛んだ、一旦最終アンチの方に行ってるのか、でも他のチーム来てるからチェックポイント読みなんだろうな。アサリなのか、あ、まああれか、ダウンビースト読みなのか。
Is really quick, not able to grab that juicy position out on the platform. Still a rather risky one for J-Lings, but they're going to set down the generator and hold out for now. E6 following suit on this rotation may actually encounter them, but are going to take a slightly different route, perhaps even opening up the top of downed beast. Well, simultaneously, we've got some serious problems on the rotations here. Bunkers are a problem, and Passion, we're running up against Maestro.
Now, obviously, Passion are going to be the ones that throw out that Dark Veil that we just saw there. So potentially, we're looking to assault upon this position. It's incredible when we talk about that pull that kind of comes into that down beast area, where you can set yourself up, lay stake in control, and begin to gatekeep any of those teams that try to fight through that northeastern side.
Passion are going to be helping out with this charge rifle in hand. Super consistent way to play the game, and since they've got this octagonal little donut area to play, they should be feeling pretty darn comfortable with plenty of cover and options available to them. Not a terrible spot for the zone, but everyone else really piling into downed beast, and I was wondering what sorts of play we would get today, how things would end up working in our first games on Stormpoint. So many teams start looking like they're a little more hungry for blood. E6 are taking the opposite approach.
Trying to lay this one down. One of the few teams, mind you, that are playing this one out with a caustic. We didn't get the chance to really discuss it given the chaos here, but now that we start to see those traps in play, you absolutely can't miss the Stinky Grandpa.
Gonna make E6 very difficult to push. They and KCP sharing a lot of territory. Not a great building for E6 to be holding. They don't have a whole lot of sustain that's normally provided by the Watson, so they're gonna have to play things carefully, albeit with the help of the gas. Still plenty of options available though for teams that are coming into downed beast, as we've got even Escape playing just that little bit of a split building strat, which gives the opportunity for other teams to come in. Kella, however, our squad's coming up from Challenger Circuit. They've had a tough season so far, but right now they are straight on top of downed beast, a really seemingly good position.
I'm actually incredibly impressed with this because Kella typically starts this one off over by that north pad area. So they didn't actually have first pickings to this zone, but they were able to not.
はいはい、戻りました。まあ大丈夫、音声とか大丈夫。ちょっと画質がね、ちょっとまだ設定等々ね、あんまり一緒になってデフォルトでやってるから、もしかしたらもうちょっとよくできるかもしれないけども、一旦今回はご容赦ください。ダンスビースト読みだね、めちゃめちゃ寄ってるね。まあアライアンスとか外ムファイアビバスとか外ムーブのチームはゆっくり入ってきてるね。
Yeah, right now at the mill, they'll have
ダンスビーストはね、だいぶ上から撃たれるから戦闘もできねえし、中に入るのもむずいしっていうので結構決まってくるよね、入れるところが。だから外ムーブのチームはむずいんじゃないかな。まあ、入るとしたら横から、青、めちゃめちゃ横から入って、横から破壊しながら入っていくしかないね。
And seeing where else everyone is on the map.
As you guys can already see, and most notably, of course, from the teams themselves and their position, it's a direct, proper POI play within the downed beast here. So for those squads who are catering towards that mill, south side, whatever it may be, a long and arduous path ahead.
Fortunately, many have already rotated out. It's a wonder I'm not calling the IGL comms for these games because I would have put us in a terrible position to checkpoint Zephyr, and you would not be happy with me at all. Passion, fortunately, have the benefit of a lot more experience and have sat themselves in a pretty good position simultaneously, actually using this catalyst to bunker down really effectively. Something that we see where she gets to sort of mirror caustic in that way. It's a relatively neutral position, not very active, and Maestro get to keep tabs on them, but I'm not expecting a whole lot of action even between these two squads that are so close together.
No, typically what usually happens, especially from the orientation of Passion, is well, they could try to assault that with whatever ultimates they do find themselves sitting upon. You kind of have that far western pull through the ocean that you are allowed to try to play through, albeit it is usually covered by height. So we look towards, most notably, Kella Gaming when we start to discuss this one out. We hop on with the Fire Beavers, haven't moved on from Mill yet. More than happy to take advantage of this replicator. They know they have to themselves.
There's plenty of space for them to work with here as well, given how Joker is using these smokes, making sure that not only can nobody see them, but actually actively obscuring sightlines on the low ground. Taskmaster does spot perhaps a little bit of action out towards the southeastern side, however, and Fire Beavers with now two teams starting to come up on them could consider a move really quickly. Alliance also waiting here, and Alliance, my team to watch, could very well start an explosive fight with just an opening frag from the back. So we gotta be careful as these two teams, though far apart, are on the verge of fighting.
It's tough to really kind of decipher what that next step is for either Alliance or Fire Beavers. Alliance already, well, yes, posting a spot into this zone. You start discussing how are they going to find their way forward. Open area that exists just below the down beast here. You have a little bit of that bridge play and some of those rocky exposures, but I'm willing to bet you if we don't see redeploys from Taskmaster and the like, it will be a contested movement.
Both Taskmaster, the entirety of Fire Beavers, and Alliance would really like access to the survey beacon right next to them as well, because both these teams know that they're going to have to move into the zones. It's just a matter of time, and in all likelihood, we'll get to see them do so in the next couple of minutes. Meanwhile, however, J-Lings, an early rotator, has set up a lot of space to control with these Watson fences, and are doing so really well, especially considering that they're operating off low ground.
Fantastic, and it's not just a low ground now. They cater to that kind of mid area that allows them to assault not just this platform back here, but also gatekeep anyone who's still playing the likes of those kind of back-end villages on the west side of the down beast here. And because they are able to do so, they don't allow anyone to take high ground position on the beast itself and start to find some of those damaging angles that could punish them. I absolutely love that spot, getting that overhead view. That is something that will pay dividends when we get to the end game.
チラチラ眺めてるから、これをやると
have to be
恐
concerned
怖が
as
来る
well
ね。
since
だからファイ
they're
アビ
being
バズがどうするかだね。
slowly encroached on by the
ま
zone.
ず
They know it's
バンガの
probably
モックで
not
車線
where
は切っ
the ring
て
is ending, but this
パイオニア
fight
ズ
that
が
was
や
a
られ
long
た。
time coming
エ
seems
レ
to
メン
be
タル6
breaking
が
out as
潰したね。
Pioneers just suddenly go down. We tune in with them, and it looks like E6 made use of the Stinky Grandpa and now have to pull this out again as
一旦ファイア
Kaida
ビバ
goes
ズは
down.
And
攻
we
め
talk
た
about。this contest we knew was going to happen from the very
Kurekuraってる
get-go
痛い。
here. This building more than available for Alliance. Fire
一旦張り
Beavers
付き
want
下
their
取るこ
piece
とを
of the
成功。
pie too. Obviously, no
さあ
major
ここから
cracks, no huge
整え
damage
てから
found as of yet.
詰めるね。わ、これはでも有利だな。窓の車線とここの上の隙間と
Taskmaster on the roof
車線が多
means
す
that
ぎるんだ
you're
よ
in
な、こ
trouble.
こ。
Fire Beavers aren't letting you go anymore. They give you so many opportunities to disengage, and now Alliance have
窓
to
にもバ
fight
ルキリー
back.
乗れる
It's gonna be a
し、屋根
slow
上から
one
隙間
as
通
we
るし。
wait for Oirain
あ、
to
それ
finally
無理し
whip
すぎじゃ
out
ない？
the
あー、
old
ちょっと
impulse,
無理
goes
しす
up
ぎ
the
たんじゃない？
stairs and gets bribed, but he trades, and Hackett
あー、
falls
全然
as
だった。
well. Oirain picks up the last kill,
ただ
and
玉来た
Alliance
ね。
bite the dust, but it's just as
BFG が
Bitfix
玉に
Gaming
来
come
ま
up,
した。
Horizon up to the roof,
あれか、
and in
圧倒
comes
的
the
に
third
もう
party. Can
ツー
Fire
ダウンとか
Beavers
取ってた
reset
の
in
か。
time? Interrupt doesn't go down, and the gold knockdown shield is out. Bitfix are on height, but
BFG
Fire
も
Beavers
結構痛
wide
い回
swing
収
and
食ら
almost
った
takedown
ぞ。
cracked.
Cracked here on his
燃えた。
debuts. Gotta make it count. Already, though, this roster down in full flesh, forced to stick the batteries. What could have been the perfect timing
さあ、
on
いやー、
that
めちゃめ
revive
ちゃ
assault is
整え
now
た。でかいで
equalized.
かい。
And hey, Fire Beavers are already
ファ
taking
イア
height
ビーバ
back
ズは立て直
outside.
し成功。
They're ready
そ
to
んな当
take
てる
this
救急。
engagement fully. Taskmaster again, almost full HP.
痛い痛い、周りの
Is
車線が
already
痛い。
sieging
周りの車
down,
線が痛い。
but yet another team has joined the fray. We had so many southeastern rotations early, Zephyr, and we're seeing them all come to a head right around mill. Fire Beavers have to know that this is not the end of the road. It's time to bunker down. Unfortunately, they've got the loot
いい
box to
削り
do
があっ
so
たから。
because that fight with
あ、
Alliance
でも
was the
グレ
perfect
痛いね。そ
time.
れ食らうの痛いけ
A
ど。
little bit of an arc
あー、ただ
start
狭い
stuck
エ
on
リ
the
アを取っ
back
てる
end
から、
there,
お
but
ー、
it is
強い。
nothing in the
魚粉
face
も
of
返
cleaning
し
up
た。
Bitfix Gaming helped out
こういう時
in
番が
part
いいよね。
by
周りの車線
Dynasty
切れ
there.
るから
They're going
ね。
to award themselves at least 2 of that KP. Across from them, V2.
あ、ただ
They want to challenge the
また別の
monsters
漁夫が来たけど、
once
ファイアビーバ
again.
ズはもう
I
整ってるよ。
promise you, V2,
ファイアビー
this
バズは
doesn't
もう
go well.
整ってて、
This is not what you thought you were walking
返し
into.
が毎
This
回痛い。
does get some
漁夫
good
来たチームが
damage
毎
down
回
initially.
心折れ
Yoda's
るぐら
got
い
to
返してい
disengage
く。
off the height, and again, V2, it's like so many squads that have fallen before them, find themselves on the
そう、しか
low
も
ground,
下にい
find
ると
themselves
別の車
without
線が来るから
tempo
ね。
up
こう
against
別の
Fire
車線
Beavers,
があるときは
and
建物
now
の中の方が有
again,
利だ
now
ね。
they're eating
ただ円
shots
がもう迫
from
ってきて
other
第3位
squads
だから結
around
構も
them.
う
Quick reload, quick bat,
全員不幸
hopefully
になっちゃ
quick
うよ。あ、ファイブラ
disengage
ズ
because
抜けて
V2
早っ。
can't stick around, and they're gonna try and play GTA
V2 は
and get
車
the
で行く
heck
け
out
ど、
of here.
それは大丈夫
Fire
か？
rotate right past them,
うまく
knowing
車
that
線
they
を
have an
削っ
opportunity
て、
to
車
strike
線を
on
切
the
って、あ
triangle.
とで右から、左から、
But we talked
なんだ？
about it
クレー
early
バーか？
on this
クレーバー。
rotation, a movement
クレーバーだ。
forward, something
DIY
that
のクレーバ
needed
ー。
to be planned.
で、そ
All
の
of
ダウ
these
ンを見て、
contests, all of these fights
V2 は降り
finally
て、先頭
come
仕掛け
and
た。
pay their price.
キ
V2
ルを
with the
稼げ
heavy
ると判
movement
断
forward
した。
hops out of the trident
ただワン
and
ダウンみたい、ワン
finds
ダウンみたいな、
damage.
これクレーバーのチームが、 あ、それ、
Fire Beavers
ギリ間に合うな。
17.
Oh
Kiri-
god,
Kirimania.
though, this is so late. Izadan's
ただ
already
そっ
being
から
shot
バ
at in
レ
the
ると
trident. YOLO
撃
might
たれ
not
たら
make
す
it
ぐ
into
だ
the
ぞ。
zone. One tick
撃たれたら
more
す
and
ぐ
he
だぞ。
survives, moving down into the choke
うわー、
point
で
that
もよく生き残った
separates
二人。
Downed Beast and Checkpoint.
生き残ったね。
V2 managed to survive,
さあ
albeit
チェックポイ
down
ント
a
も
member, but
GG とヒ
they
ーローズで
sacrificed
当
it
た
for
っ
a
て
good
る。
cause. Finally, somebody's taking Fire Beavers out of the lobby. Meanwhile, Gaming
ハーデキは
Gladiators swing
あれだ
onto
ね。
the low ground.
バレ
They
使ってる
got their own fight going on up against the heroes. And again, this
いやー、強い。
southeastern rotation
強い。
claims another
ほぼ
life.
かけなし。
Heroes go down.
Heroes wiped out and
あー、まあ、
full,
か
and
けもほぼ
now
なく。
their sights targeted to that low ground.
Gaming
We know for a
Gladiators
fact
が
that just below them
と
lies
勝
an
ちまし
easy
たと。いや、ここま
2v3
でハーデ
situation.
キが
They
強い
agree,
から
of
で、ハ
course,
ー
on
デキが
this year
一緒
should
にい
be
るメンバーだ
able
から
to
きっと、
sniff that one out
二
or
人とも
sense out
ちょ
some
っと
heart.
知らないんだけれども、きっとうまいんでしょう。
Finally made it into this third ring fully closed, and I'm surprised, Zephyr, that there are only 13 squads left. It was a massive culling for a zone that so many predicted correctly, but the way that these teams rotated, the fact that these
さあ、
two
こっちが取れたの
these
でかいね。で、バルいるから最悪
sides
越せる
of the
し、
lobby have not not played against each other in so long. Groups
南側
B
を取り
versus
切
C,
って入
clearly
りたいと
unused to each
13
other
部だ
in
もん
the
ね
early stages of today, have honestly managed to put themselves in a position where there's a lot of open space in the end game because so many people are dead.
There might be some open space still left available in the down beast itself, but it's seconds away from that potentially being irrelevant here. So many of these teams have to give up the low ground, the buildings, and have to play directly, of course, for that beast themselves. This rotation for gaming gladiators is as bad as it gets, but it comes with the reward of finding YOLO at least. A bit of an interceptor pylon in play with 14 to go. How do they make it across?
絵の中には下を取って入れそうだけど、ちょっと車線がきついね。バンガがいないから飛ぶしかないんだけど、こんだけヘイト買ってると飛べないぞ。
Remember, Kella Gaming, most recently holding that position, have noticed what lies ahead of them.
いけるそれ。結構きついよ。
Gonna try and whip out the Valkyrie ultimate. They'll make it up to the sky after taking a peppering of damage from those missiles, and we'll see where they land. Landing spots pretty few and far between. Fence lines available. This is what they're going for. Right into a smoke, right into the unknown. And like Elsa, they seem to have made it out okay. A little bit of an arc star, a little bit of a skirmish, but Gaming Gladiators are stabilizing, even getting aggressive as they whip out the seer ult from Lagre. And now starts to fry. Cars out, 2 knocks down, and Gaming Gladiators they are no knocks away from taking out Aurora.
ただ業風というか車線がすごい。
some damage. He gets out, but barely. Lagre gets full first, and Gaming Gladiators now are on the back foot. Now being pushed by Horizon.
Horizon are more than happy that they take out Vortex for them and allow space to open up here. But it doesn't come without the price of Phoenix as well. V2 going out here intent just behind them. Horizon are now finally, I think, in the safest position to reset and find full health now that they've been granted an exit out of the beast.
So many quick fights happening in that short span of time, over by just the corner. And honestly, it opened up that third-party scenario in a way that neither team was expecting. Neither Aurora or Gaming Gladiators thought that they would be in trouble in their respective spots, but very quickly discovered the opposite. We dropped down to 8 squads. Again, a continually bloody games effort. Passion managing to retain some height for now. Not ultimate height in down to beast, but this next pull changes everything.
Once again, this tail no longer in play, more directly towards that platform that Jaylings came through with the pass. Hold hands with Maestro all game long, but return from 0-0 may not be imminent, but they themselves actually in a 2v2. Tax though with an immediate swap, leaving it to Zanya to at least secure that next kill there, but Element 6, here they come.
And Tax saw this earlier. He knew the third party was incoming. E6 unable to capitalize on the fight. Now get pushed themselves, and it may just be their end as there's so much flesh around them. E6 do go down, and Horizon are the ones to do it to them. Another successful third party from this squad, but they've got no time to celebrate because the zone is closing in, pushing them out into the open, into the former position of Jaylings. Let's see if they're still there.
Jaylings obviously with the first take on this platform or nowhere to be seen, potentially out positioning towards the edge there. Instead, they pull back to the very cusp of this, but they know they don't have the loss on those fence lines just yet, and they're more than happy to wait out the onslaught that comes through from that beast itself.
This Catalyst wall, not going to do a whole lot, is out there. Jaylings don't even have to worry about it. So many people are funneling out into the open, and Jaylings get to farm. Maestro go down, Danish go down, Horizon Union are out, and we're into the top 3 just like that, Zephyr. This is going to be an end game where Jaylings unfortunately find themselves sandwiched, but they've done so well until now.
This is a team that we know can make it happen when it comes to this lobby. They won it last time around, and they're poised to do it again. An off angle by Nags here already secures massive damage from above onto Phoenix Legacy. He does have to bide his time, but that is major resources expended.
さあもう3チームが戦いに寄ってるから、ジェイリングはめちゃめちゃ美味しい位置。最後にワンピック取ったらいい。ああ、ただいい位置いるわ。いい位置
top of Down Beast from the top of Challenger Circuit. Now start to push up. Ring starting to close. This is do or die for Kella, for Phoenix Legacy, for Jay Lings. Who's going to come out on top? Can Kella finally do it?
It's tough to say here for Kella. They have one of the better positions. We talk about the rotation towards that pole. Both Jay Lings and, of course, Phoenix Legacy will be forced out from their back-end position in just a moment. And look at Odie with this absolute supreme high ground to work with.
これはケラはもう下には降りないで上からの車線だけで倒したいね。いや、この人の車線が良すぎる。オーディがめちゃめちゃいい。で、ただ上を取れてる。でかいでかい。うわー、ケラがいい場所取ってました。いやー、あれだね、ギリギリまで待たなかったのが良かったね。これ円が縮まれば縮まるほどケラが不利だったから早めに潰したっていうのがナイスだったね。チェリングとしてはもうちょっとあっち側にチームでケラとフェニックスレガシーでやり合ってくれたら美味しかったんだけど早く終わりすぎたね。ケラ18ポイント、ジェリング15、13、10って感じで、まあ、上位にちょっとキルが集まってって感じで、まだ分かりませんね。結構第4円、5円でファイト激化したね。ダウンドビーストの多分場所取れないっていうことでファイトしちゃおうっていう判断だったんだろうね。
all in Alliance's favor, and Horizon, they're not going to have to completely go from east to west on that rotation. They can kind of sit just where they are, and you'll start to notice. But think of the Fire Beavers, right? They're that edge-hitting zone team, right? This is going to be exactly what they want.
フェニックスレガシー3分の2かぶったところだったのね。すげえな。アンチ近かったっていうのもあるんだけど、よくその折半したブッシュで生き残ったね。サンチはこれはサンダーウォッチ来たじゃねえかな。サンダーウォッチ来たか高知かだね。まあでもこの辺なんじゃないかな、このプラウラがたくさん住み着いてるとこ。だからこのコマ線の北側、ここはだいぶ最初序盤めっちゃ有利で、アライアンスとかはまあこの北側の橋をずっと取ってればいいから、NM アライアンスサンダー落ち込むんだよね絶対。ホライゾンも終盤きついと思う。でファッションかな、ファッションがここの上、サンダー落ちの崖上っていうのかなを取るから強いね。あ、ホライゾン移動したのは多分サンダー落ち込むと込むというか、まあ高知読みか、高知読みなのかみんな。もうちょい南に最終的に寄ると思うんだけどな、入りきってないから高知のいっちゃん北まで。高知のいっちゃん北まで入ると多分寄り切ると思うんだけど、ちょっと中途半端な位置が N 始まってるから、この辺になると思うんだよな。
where you can get that map scan to have the information of not only if you are going to play outside the zone, it's what's available, right? And those by the time that you've made your way into the next zone, that data that you got from the map room scan is so outdated, but Maestro getting started a little bit early here.
We talk about Nightmare, who typically lands here in High Point and already delivering to Maestro find a double knock in the moment. One final member to set themselves below. They don't even care. They're more than happy to pull for full thirst while they have the chance.
まあ最速ムーブだからまだ玉は来ないだろうの呼んでも早めに潰しちゃうって判断だ。
And this is a really important fight. Let's talk about that for a second, because establishing your space here in High Point early, any team that decides to maybe rotate out through the wall is going to have to push through this choke point. And you've already got the kind of buildings and the space taken, but Horizon Union would love to bring this up to full screen because there is some action happening, and I need more of it. I need me to be full screened into this effort.
It does look like when it comes to the Catalyst, they had to use that Dark Veil to at least secure a bit of an edge on that. Well, revive for Urban. They did secure double knocks down, albeit weren't able to finish that one in the end here. I'm curious where that exactly comes through. We know for a fact some of these other squads are beginning to arrive. Maestro and Nightmare at the start of that fight. Okay, it looks like they themselves were able to recover, weren't third-partied by Horizon. Instead, it's Nightmare that gets forced out of this building.
And I think that's strong, right? This is totally able to be shared splitly, right? They can go habitate this building. You can essentially poke throughout and maybe get some damage, maybe level up your shields. You're sitting on triple blue for Horizon. But for the most part, this is a fight that doesn't necessarily need to happen yet. They can live here, gatekeep the rotation, and just hold their position steady. I think that's smart. Establishing this position early. Maestro, I mean, we saw a lot of good moments from them on their very first match day. And I was really impressed with the trio. And now I'm excited to see can they keep that up going there.
漁夫になってたけども早めに終わったから漁夫にならず
You know, at one point they were playing in the Challenger circuit in those Pro League season qualifiers back under the name of Rats, I believe. So good to see, but we're talking about things like relegation and being sent back to those qualifiers, and this is a time where you do not want to let that happen.
Meanwhile, up here, once again, back towards High Point. Passion, the previously oriented Horizon team, have found their way directly upon the same building as their friend. It does seem like it forces Horizon down into only having that first floor available. This is something that you are going to constantly see here in this zone in particular. When we talk about playable space for this current poll, notice so much of the command center in the caves are available. And nobody is likely to play those at all unless you are a deep rotating squad. Why? Well, zone can't end there. It is guaranteed that we do not see a finish. Right now, every single squad who is either has one of those controlling consoles or potentially just that early knowledge knows for a fact that there are only 2 playable endgame spots available. Outside of Thunderwatch and here in these buildings.
Yeah, it's going to be really challenging because you think if it does pull a little north towards the High Point area where a lot of our teams, you can see in that lower mini map on the upper left-hand corner, they are pulling and betting that it is going to go towards High Point. So think of the rotation. Teams like Gaming Gladiators, they're currently occupying Thunderwatch. And you think of endgame, you have to push out of Thunderwatch into an open area where everyone's just going to be breathing down your neck, looking to completely pick you up one by one. So love what Horizon and Union and Maestro are doing here, just kind of setting themselves up for success, reinforcing the door, using the piercing spikes. Now, if the door does decide to get shut down, here we go. A nice little seer exhibit coming out, and they're going to make a push outside of the building. Nothing like a little bullying. I like it.
This is just prime real estate for Horizon to capitalize on here. The window, a prime viewing orientation for themselves. Peek through the other side, and it doesn't even feel like passion put up anything. I think quite literally only 50 damage on Jay Savage there.
I mean, yeah, that was a really well executed fight. Urban just going through the window and immediately getting a shield crack. That was so efficient and just, honestly, one of the best fights I've seen at the hands of Horizon. So let's check in with Kella Gaming, your map 1 winners. They're at the wall right now. So think about a rotation coming out of this POI. Like you talked about it, you can go through Command Center eventually. That's kind of going to be a very tough rotation in my aspect. You go up those incredible long zip lines and you try to pop out north. That choke point through spiders is disgusting to try and push through, especially late game. So I just don't think that is going to be the way to go. They seem as if they're kind of encroaching up towards maybe the caves, and I think that would be a better move for them. This is technically where Element 6 had rotated through way earlier on. Like I'm talking minutes ago.
Yes, at the very beginning of the game, how they found their way directly to the High Point itself. Now, when it comes to this zone rotation, I am going to continue to pick on it. When it comes to the cave system and that zipline you bring up towards the north side, it is guaranteed that we see the highest presence of teams directly well within that high point. And granted, while we do think the zone is ending there, I want to remind some people of maybe something they don't remember. I believe it was day 2 Storm Point, we see a similar finish here. And while yes, high point, those buildings that we currently see Horizon and Maestro were in play, the zone pulled a little bit further back, just slightly leaving some of that open-ended area back towards that Prowler nest and the height that comes down from the command center exit. And notably, our teams who didn't bet on High Point, who didn't have to worry about the density of squads, actually survived longer, given that they weren't
コー
in
チ行く
that
ためには
much
ね、
of
コマ
we'll say
線
dire
から
straits.
上乗るしか
Into
ない
dire
から
straits
な
is。cut into heroes
コ
right
マ
now.
線の上
Phoenix
からね、バレ
Legacy
ちゃう
has
すると
not
だいぶ
made
飛
their
距離伸びる
rotation
か
into
ら。
high point. They are still in command center alongside heroes, and you've got Babylons right now just
追ってる追ってる
waiting to
追ってる
throw
追ってる。
out the black hole, but of course going to take down a
これ
little
は
bit of damage, not going to magnitude
い
into
や、
a
これ
shield
は
crack,
そ
but
う
the
でもな
black
い。
hole
そうでもない、ウ
can
ルト。
totally break through the door, and some good thermite nades
そうでも
going
ない、ウ
out,
ル
but
トだったね、
not
今
really
のは。
amounting to much damage here just yet.
Constantly
もうちょっと
pulling
ね。
away further and further. They expend so many
人
of
の前に
the
置けると
heroes'
ね、
cooldowns,
よ
albeit
かったんだけ
giving
ど、
up
分断で
constant
使えるとよ
space.
かったんだけど、ちょっと間
Likely
に合わなかった
could be
ね。
pushed out towards back outside. Granted, right now, Heroes just holding the corner, not quite looking for any assault,
ただ
especially
そ
now
の
knowing
銃
that
声
they no
聞い
longer have
て
those
ケラ
ultimates
とかも
available.
聞こえるんじゃないか
I
な、
mean,
銃
Heroes
声。
just running such a
北
more
側のね、家にい
aggressive
たから
legend
ね。
composition here, which allows them to kind of push forward and bully Phoenix Legacy out of their space and constantly force them to move back. You know, they have that Watson, and typically they're the team that's going to be playing crypto as well. And you think about things like that, they're actually not playing crypto today, which I really respect them for not doing the crypto Watson. But the Watson is going to just keep pushing further back,
まあどんどん
fencing
と破
up,
壊
and
して
just
キルポを
want
防ぎ
to
たい構成
pull
ですと。
heroes
ジ
maybe
ェイ
into a
ンはあれ
situation
か、
that could
コ
benefit
ーチ
Phoenix
の
Legacy a
これ
little more.
北
But
側だね。
I just think it's too
アン
early
チ
on
に
for
は入っ
them
て
to
ないね、こっち
necessarily
側ね。
fight. It's not going to amount to anything at that point, but you want to make sure that you're getting some of those placement points. But I'm just shocked that Phoenix Legacy is still
あ、
in
チゲ
command
は
center.
嘘嘘。別側
Especially as
の
a team that
別の
has
家の
one
1
of
階を
the
取ったと。で、
fastest
その
moving
時
times in
に
the game. They typically average
舞台
somewhere
一部隊
around
潰したって
a
感
minute
じだ
to a
ね。
minute and 15.
チーム1キル
They
ポだ
got
か
out
ら
of checkpoint,
魚振っ
but
た感
didn't
じか。
quite cater to the region immediately. Now, granted,
魚振
we
っ
look
たから
towards
きつくなっ
this
たところを
particular
追い込ん
building
だって感じ
setup.
だね。
Jailings have arrived. They are once again one of those rosters that currently sits in our
さ
top
あ、
5
ま
on
た
the
隙があれば
overall,
上を潰しに行
alongside
く可能性
Horizon
は全然あ
Union
るね。
playing just across from them. I'm beginning to see some patterns on the day of.
Yeah, last time we checked in with Jailings, you know, they've just made their way into a
さあ、
building.
アン
Let's
チが
jump
どうな
into
る
it,
かだ
listen
ね。
into
コ
here
ー
if
チ
they're
寄
going
り
to talk
切
about
るの
maybe
か、ちょっと
their
サンダー
next
落ちが寄
movement
るの
forward that
か。
listen is going to be presented by WD Black.
さ
Reckon? Yeah, Jenin is gonna.
We're literally in
あ、あ
the
ー、
endgame.
コ
We
ー
are
チだ
in the
ね
endgame, okay?
全然
We
コ
just
ーチだった
can't-
わ。俺は寄り切れ。ここまでいったら寄り切
Wait,
る。
I think we
Jen's
triple
good
play
here,
here. I
Jay.
think we triple
Jen's
play here.
really good here, Jay. On me.
Are you sure?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I'm just saying because three
The door?
teams can see the doors. You know, whereas if I put it here,
But
they
then
kinda-
they can nade and take the stairs from us. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. If you
Çok
gen
kolay.
here, they can't
Çok da merak
take the space from us. Who can see the gen? Who can see the gen? This team out here.
あ、いいけど相手の方がいい。
I'm putting a gen here on you.
Don't do that shit now.
Yeah.
でまあ2人いたから2人分の
If you get knocked
ダ
out,
メー
we
ジ
just
食らっ
lost
た
the
感
game.
じか。
Just lock it in. Do you guys have nades?
You have a med kit or no? Yes, yeah, nades.
No, zero medkit.
No, zero
Guys,
med
with
kit.
charges.
まあアトソンがいるから多少ね、多少セルとかの枯渇、使用はね気にせんくていい。
No,
上
no,
も
no,
アトソンだ。
We can make it
ア
fresh
ト
though.
ソ
I'll
ン
go
構
see
成
you.
対決だ上とした。
Right, I'm gonna throw here first. The armor assault.
Right, listen, boys. When you're full HP,
Listen,
now,
boys.
sit on me and play on me, alright? No, Jay,
Yeah.
Jay, play on me because you can fence the
No,
stairs.
look at.
プレイオン
look
ミー
at-
リ
look
スン
at
ボーイ
my
ズかっ
Okay.
け。
You want me
Proper
to
sell, no?
slow heal this? No. No, I can do it. I can do it.
No, proper sell. It's not worth it. We're not going to take any damage anyway. We're not peeking anyone.
誰喋ってんだろう。
It's more important we have presence here, and I want you on me, Jay, so you can
Noisyかな。
spam fence the stairs if you need to, okay?
Oh wait, you have to gen
Mashiach.
as well.
I know, exactly. It's not a bad spot, dude, but we cannot give
試合
up this space,
GL もある
and then they
し
just swing and kill us.
Yeah.
バル IGL
And
もあるな。ま
Nags,
あど
you
っ
need
ち
to
かだ
play
ろう。
there, because they might drop out balcony and try and make a play on you, okay? And you need to be ready to swing that guy and one cut
Yeah,
he flies
yeah,
back
no,
out.
yeah, no, they're gonna get.
Well, that was definitely
Wow.
very interesting, but it's always good to hear, especially when a team has poised themselves in prime positioning for that endgame, and that's what Jailings is focusing on. And the dynamics between Nags and Co, it's quite interesting, right? Nags, kind of that entry fragger,
あー
poking
そ
the
こはあ
stairs,
れだ
trying
な
to just
もう
do
見
poke
合って
damage.
て
You
動
just
けない感じだ
don't
ね
do that.
お互い
Just
に
don't do it. We throw.
Wow, what are you doing? We're about to screw over a whole success here to continue and potentially find them back to another win in B versus C. It's guaranteed potentially for this game. And we want to see if they can hold on to it. But over here, opposite side, just on the low ground, we talk about this slime. Hard to assault up the hill here.
後ろからやったんかこれ。
Yes,
上側の
Vortex
方は
go
有利だ
down,
けど
but
ね。
it's
今
not
度追ってった
mostly
って
by
感
the
じか
hands
な。
of Kella. Instead, the waiting arms of Kansas City
Soshi
above
ne
them.
Kella.
But, oh, Kella have more
また
problems
もうきつい
awaiting
か
them from the deep.
ただ赤までよ
It's tough, right? You think about that rotation.
下
Phoenix
フ
Legacy,
ェ
they
ニック
had
スレガシーが
just
下
been
から来て
pushed
これ
fully
上有
out
利
of
だよ
command
ただ
center,
車線
and
広
they're
げ
electing to
横
not
広
push
げてるよ
through that
一人
spider chokehold we were talking about earlier. Instead, they're going to force their way up that hill and rotate and mirror
あただ一人やられ
Now
た
Juzo going
おっと
down
これは
to
フェニック
hands
スレ
of
ガシーあるか
EMEA. This is looking to be a Phoenix Legacy
3-1
fight here because Kella has nowhere to go.
Ooh. Fantastic though from Phoenix Legacy to push that
いや
through from the
強い
low
ね
ground.
フェニックスレガシー
Most situations you
よ
wouldn't
くあの下から
bet on it there. For
の
now
攻めで
though,
勝った
how
わ
they get forward is going to be
さあ
another
GG と
question.
ヒーローズ
These
が
teams
こ
in
れアンチ入って
Thunderwatch
入
have
る
that
時
to
に
answer
ぶつか
themselves.
る
Heroes with supreme
帰
control
ってき
of
た
this
ちょ
height
っと
should
削れ
be
てる
able to watch Game and
し直して
Gladiators on their
さあ
rotation
これ
out.
どうするか
My
だね
eyes are going to be set
お
on
互い
hard deck.
きつい
We
よ
saw a lot of
これ
1v3
勝った方が下
situations,
取れ
but
る
it's going to be heroes already
強い
taking
ヒーローズ
down the likes of
別車
Danish.
線取ったから上から車線
So
取
GG
った
need
の
to
か
poise themselves to make sure that they're going to have that. But unfortunately, Heroes is just
上から車線取っ
annihilating
たっぽい
everyone and holding that. That high ground at Thunderwatch was
さあファイアビ
absolutely
ーバー
key.
ズ
But
あファイアビー
Fire
バ
Beavers
ー
are
ズ
like,
も
hey,
や
yo,
って
if you
たの
want
か
to
別
make
にそこ
something
で
happen, let's do this. Taskmaster coming in.
Dang!
This is what you want.
さあ
If you're Fire
2対
Beaver,
3 だ
sure,
ぞ
Oi Ray
あ
already
上
down,
から
you
の
don't
車
have
線
the
がもう
banner.
毎度毎度
Nine impulse, a little
毎
bit
度
low
毎
on
度
health here.
いや
Needs to
強
clutch
かっ
this
たけ
up.
どね
Not
今
gonna be able to do
今エグかった
it.
ね
The
200 くらい
hipfire
出
of
してた
the
ね
Nemesis isn't gonna be enough, and
さあ
Babylon's
全部ヒーローズが倒しました
clutching and has
しか
that
も
gold
勝手も取られて
knockdown.
ない
That was so close.
でかい
There is no other roster in the
金
entirety
も
of
でかい
EMEA
金シール
that
ドも
could
で
just
かい
say, you know what? Let's just try to get the job done.
さあ
They
南側を
said
全部
two,
取り切った
knowing that they have
でアンチ
no
はもう
other
コー
option
チに
up
素直
against
に
Heroes
全部
here,
寄り
and
まし
they
た
are full health. They are more than comfortable in their current spot after taking out both Game
オーロラ
and
と
of course,
BFG が当たってる
my apologies,
オ
the
ーロラが
other
ヒーロー
squad
ク
that
展
comes
開し
through
てる
there on Thunderwatch.
Very, very
Oh,
challenging. That was
Zembrikta.
going to be Danish as well, but let's touch base with Bitfix Gaming. I know we talked about
第
it a
4
little
円
bit
は
early on in
戦
that
闘が
broadcast, playing
増
with
え
a
る
new
ね
third, cracked on red, just holding out, taking Aurora in the caves. This is tough,
まあ
right? You're
ほんと
talking about
綺
the
麗に
rotations, you know,
マトリョー
that
シカ
zone
みたい
came
に寄り切
in
ったね
hand for map number 1 in Aurora's favor.
ほんとその
Unfortunately, they
ま
were
んま寄った
not
ね
able to hold on to the down beast, and they're working on that rotation towards High Point, which is actually
全部平地じゃない多分
one of the most disgusting areas of the map
さあ
to
ただ
make
きつい
a
これフェニックスレガシー
playthrough
この多
on
分
Storm Point, and all of our teams are essentially
上が
just
有利
clawing
上が有利
uphill,
だよ
trying to make something
私は
happen.
嘘で
Zeri pulling out the seer exhibit, looking
あ
for
と
some
登れない
information.
パッ
They
ドです
just
多
need
分
to
こ
get
の
a
人
cheeky LOS and maybe deal a knock, but it's going to actually be Cracked that goes down first.
いやー上が強い
Zephyr could never quite find his way
上が
onto
強い
that height, and
一人やっ
instead,
たけど
once
ワンムワン
again, Phoenix Legacy
いや
deliver
取り
on
切った
their defense,
あ
but no!
ビットフィック
Tricks
スが
with the
あれ
jump down from height
あれ
pulls it off, even though
マジ
the full wipes come through
ビットフィ
on
ックス不利だと思っ
Crack
てた
and the
が
like. Granted, zone closing in, they have
ビット
to
フィックスが
push
全部取りました
further forward here. We tune back in with
あら
Heroes
まあ
still on their
サニアの
rotation
クレー
out
バー
from
で
Thunderwatch. Remember what I
Elemental
said
Six
about
の
this
ステイヤーズ
open
が
area from
ダウン
Prowlers? It is a minor Dark Veil that gives them their space for what I can only
さあこれ
imagine
だいぶ
is
減る
no
ねだから
seconds long.
コーチ取ってたチームはだいぶ
Good tier Q coming out, not necessarily going to
入
provide
って
them
て
with
正
much
解ってやつだね
information. You're just jumping forward and praying and shooting and trying to find some opening
入
damage.
って
But
ない入って
you
ない
have nowhere to go, and V2 picking up
V2 が
another
倒しました
critical win of a fight here on the edge of zone. But it's
いや
going to be
すごいねもう入れないね
that takes him
全
down.
然
Now
アンチ入れない
E6 is poised to turn this fight into an advantage situation
今
for
日あれだ
them.
よ
Now
第
let's talk
5
about
円でもうファイトを
E6,
ど
they're
んどん
playing
やっ
with a
て
new
こ
third
う
as
キル
well.
を
I
狙い
tweeted
に
out,
行ってる
I was
チー
like,
ム
who
が多
is
いね
winning today? And E6 was like a prevalent
いやー
team
漁夫
that
も
kept
倒す
getting thrown my way, but unfortunately, Yolu is just better in this situation. A 2v3 out of V2 and the
さあ
res
もう一部隊
coming
来たけ
in
ど
now. This is
こ
good
れ
for
は
them because you see, Izzy not,
カツ
they
ラも
went
せ
down to
そうだ
Storm.
ね
They already have their shield, so they're just gonna have to pop a med kit,
は
and
い
that
いや
will
入り
allow
きつい
them
ね
to continue their movement forward. They are just playing
の
that
チーム
edge
ちょっ
of
と
the
出張
rock.
してきてるの
But
か
look
あ
at Horizon
ジェ
and
イリング
Maestro.
は
They've
早
been
め
living in
に
those
移
two
動したんだ
buildings, two
ア
zone
ンチが
calls
外れる
to
というか
perfection.
混むということを予想してね素晴ら
Fantastic
しい
spot
ね
for them, but I want to
入れ
highlight
るかどうかって感
J-Lings
じだ
here.
ね
Remember, they were the squad that was still hosting a spot directly underneath Maestro at the very beginning, at least of our game here. They have pulled back towards that high point trench line because as we just saw from that last zone read, this is going directly up just past Maestro's building. Horizon about to lose out on their side entirely. Those two squads, the only ones in control of the position for zone 5 further.
固めるしかないかな、次の円は。
KCP has been rather under the radar here in map number 2.
さあエターナルは隙を見て建物に張り付いた。さあこれでより KCP が飛んだ。飛ぶんだ。家上、円内に入ってる家上を取る前に、そうだ、J リーグの初戦きついぞ、そっちがいると。潰しに行った、潰しに行ったな。あ、一回取った。なんで一回空いてるか、空いてるって分かったんだ。結構賭けだったでしょ、今の。リフト積んでないから。飛んですぐ視野で一回見たのかな、張り付いて。あ、そっか、まあでも J リングは張り付き成功したけども、ファイヤービーバーズの2人とやってるのかな。 V2 か、 V2 とやってる。これ取り切った方がチャンピオンに近いから絶対に負けたくない。さあ JMW、 あ、金たっけ、金シールドたっけ、2対1か。さあ上から車線もやばいけど倒した。さあ V2 はチャンピオンポジだね。残りの3チームが全部この建物に寄ってる。残り2チームもこの建物上と下やり合わせて V2 は漁夫で勝利だね。いやめちゃめちゃ強い。 V2 はめちゃめちゃでかい。しかも落ちたか。
Until the last possible moment, you have to wonder what angles does
こ
V2
れは
have
V2
available? How
勝
can
ち
they
ですね、こ
potentially
れは。
find an advantage in this moment, given how much space they are starting to absorb on this pull?
It is going to be really interesting, but KCP under the radar. Curious to see now that they fought out for space and are fencing off that area. Maestro at the top, holding that high ground is going to be really nice for them. I think I just heard a sentinel, so they're looking for cheeky lines of sight on the V2. The moment they get a knock onto V2, that is over. So they're just trying to keep them at bay. And at this point in time, I just feel like KCP, they're just playing for the win. They want Maestro to fight V2 so they can go in and be like, you know, we're going to clean this up.
It's going to be very close here. It depends how much restraint Maestro have. If they go for the full send right now and try to assault the bottom end of V2, it is guaranteed that KCP walk this one out. But I love this cheeky move from Zane, trying to find that off angle, getting to the next position point that should grant KCP what they need.
パイオニアはどうする？割り切り2をするか？わ、偉い！偉い V2！ これでカタリストを使って分断することによって、もう無理やり KCP とマエストロに戦わせたね。いや、うまい。いや、こういうカタリスト強えな。あの張り付きの位置だとね、正直突っ込まれる可能性あったけど、あのカタリストのウルトで決まったね。で V2 が最後取りに行くと、いやーうまい。いやー綺麗なカタリスト、綺麗なカタリストのウルトだったね今。うますぎる。ザ・カタリストいてよかった。後世だったね。うまい。非常にうまい。
We talk about their ability to create space there in the end, Tiffany. The
throw down a game like
14キルでけえ。24ポイント、マイストロパイオニア、ホライゾン、総合は V231 ポイント、マイストロは多分2試合で平均していいポイントを稼いで25ポイント。ケラはチャンピオンは取ってちょっとキルだけちょっと取ったけどほぼ初動でね、多分12ポイント0かな、12ポイント0だから19で J リングニクスという感じで、まあ、V2 がちょっと抜けたって感じです。ただまだまだ分かりません。心配なのはアライアンス、ファイヤービーバーズとね、現在全体で上位にいるチームが伸び悩んでるっていうところが心配だけれども、ただファイヤービーバーズもアライアンスもキルムーブのチームだから一気にね、10何キルチャンピオンっていうのを取ってトップ3とかにガッて入るっていうのは全然ありきえます。ですので、まあ、そこを注目していきましょう。さあ変わらずフェニッ X レガシーは同じとこちょろっと去って下取ってって感じだね。
comparison to say something like fish farms or cenote, where you can get so many of our
まあ J リーグも無理はし
clustered
ない
in
感
before
じだ
that
ね。
end game. Something like Cascade
十分は
Falls.
されてるし順位がいいから
Play a little
まああ
bit
んまり
more wide
無理
open,
潰すとか
perhaps,
せ
if
ず
you are coming in from the edge. But as you say,
今ある
these
物資で
buildings
やりくりしていこうと。
so obtrusive, especially when
さあ
E6
アン
are
チは
running the
コマ
caustic.
線ウォ
If
ール
they have
側
chosen
に
to
よっ
stick with
て
that going to
こ
game
れ
3, and
は
I
か
suspect
す
that
て
they have. Other teams are already going to be picking up on the fact that this ring is in fact coming over into the Cascade area. Horizon notably going and picking up the ring console over by Stormcatcher right now. They've got a really swift rotation that they can make should they want to place themselves in zone. And I'm looking around the map at Heroes as well and how they'll choose to play this out, because they were on the warpath last game, constantly pushing teams, constantly looking for bites.
It's something that we didn't really get to see reflect, especially in that leaderboard, as it
は
was
2試合で
V2
30
that
ポイント
came
だか
in
ら
at the
まああ
very
と残
end
りの
here
試合は
and truly really absorbed the wealth of that
パイン
KP.
や移動
Meanwhile,
が
though,
きつそう
for the KCP boys, they've gotten themselves into a bit of a tussle
エ
with
ターナル
the
かなエター
muscle
ナル
from
が
behind.
まあただエターナルは移動を優
They
先した
find great
KCP は
trident damage, but
まあ
they
ちょっと
do
移動が
not
遅れ
care.
ちゃったっ
They
ていう
are
感じかな。
more
エター
than
ナルも
happy to
倒す
send
っていうよりかは
themselves into
KCP
Cascade
の移動を
Falls,
遅らせ
land
て
a
自分たちがいい
good,
ポジションに入
position that
って
they
いけるよう
know
に
they can guarantee
圧をかけたって
endgame
感じだ
play
ね。
from.
And Therno pay a lot of respect to pioneers in the entirety of the EMEA region right
こう
there.
いうとこでやっぱり
Knowing that
ラン
though
クとか
they
だとね
found even flesh damage
潰
off
し合おう
the
っ
trident,
てあのまんま
that the
取り
respect that
に
they
行くっていう
give
ことを
is
しがちなん
enough
だけ
to
ど
let
ただあ
pioneers
そこでやり合っ
continue
ちゃ
to
うと
rotate
移動が
in
遅れていい
both
ポジション
squads,
取れないし他の移
prioritizing
動中の
instead
チーム
just
にね振
moving
られ
their
るっていう
way
心配
into
があ
the
るから
ring. And with
まあ圧だけ
where
かけて即
pioneers
移動
are
って
at
いうのを
right
選
now,
択し
it's
た
a
と。
great time for them to do it, being able to claim one of the more central
まあプロっぽい動
positions
きだった
here
ね
and
今のはね。
hopefully open themselves up for a great end game. Dynasty, however, have got
Dynasty
different
は
lanes as they pick a fight
ワン
around
ピ
the
ック取ったの
edge.
かかめっち
Keeping this
ゃああ
one moving
もう
forward,
虫
they've
の
already
息だ
found
で
the
アーマーも
damage
弱い
to
ということで
fight. No health available on the likes
これは
of
もう
Phoenix
潰しちゃおう
Legacy.
と。
We
いやー
talk
そうだ
about
ね
their
アサリ
southern
が狭い
rotation
から
on checkpoint,
フェニック
and
スレガ
this
シーは
time
もう物
it
資
has
が
been
貧
stopped
困
in
だ
its
ね。
tracks. There is no time to heal. There's barely a med kit in play.
あただ一人返した2対2対2対2でかいでかいでかい。
Draft is back with the nemesis.
Mania's got full purples as well up on high
あた
ground.
だ
It's
2
an
対
impossible
1
position for Phoenix Legacy.
さすがにか。
Somehow breaking through the purple
さすがに
shields
だ
though.
ね。
There
あー
is
いや
still
惜
a
しかったけど
chance,
ね。
and yet Phoenix Legacy
ワン
bite
ピ
the
ック取ったと
dust.
こ
It
まで
was
フェニックスレ
minimal,
ガシ
and
ー
Dynasty
2対2
come
ま
out
でいっ
on
たので
top.
かかったけど
It's a huge
ちょっと甘
loss
さが
for the Legacy
ちょっと
here
甘さがき
as
つ
they
かった
go
ね。
down in 20th.
ダ
I
イナスティを美
remind
味しい
you,
3ポイ
a
ントを得られま
top
し
3
た。
competing team out of game 1, something that's going to hurt their position, especially as we go on to World's Edge, especially as we start talking about that team. I mean, they land landslide. It's about as bad as it gets.
It's been such a rough couple games for Phoenix Legacy as well, given where they're landing and the fact that it seems that they are constantly being pushed in ring
そう
one.
カス
They
ケード
can't
ホー
catch a
ル
break.
カ
They
スケード
don't
ホール
have
読み
shields,
の
and
チー
teams
ム
are
が結構
so
多いかな
confident
KCP ホラ
taking
イゾンと
fights
もに
up against Phoenix Legacy and the positions that they put themselves, that when we finally see them stand their ground, they've got nothing to really hold on to. It's an unfortunate way to go out, but other teams perhaps positioning themselves in a slightly more central position, got a little bit more HP to work with. One of those, Horizon Union, who have again joined up in the barrage of squads that are populating Cascade Falls.
Once
BGM
again,
入
we're
ってき
really
て
seeing some of those
だいぶ
patterns
カ
here.
スケード
This
ホール
last
読みっ
game,
ぽいね。
Horizon Union, and there they are, J-Lings as well, KCP. These three squads were so quick to
あー
make their
J-Link
way
は
towards
ホライゾ
high
ンと
point
同居したか
and
な多分。
escort themselves to an end game winning position. Now down there, Watson's in play, Zone's in control. They will have this available likely for the rest of the game here. Pioneers are trying to see if they can sneak a peek though on that recent redeploy.
In a position like this, Nasky has to watch his back because there are a lot of teams that will rotate through the high ground, the actual falls proper, and just take some shots at Pioneer's back, getting aggressive as much as they can. There's a lot of space that can be taken up, perhaps a better building to be found as everyone else starts to make their way in. Stormcatcher becoming incredibly populated as teams look for that next ring scan, especially as this next zone is about to close. You can tank zone for a little while and stick around.
So most of our squads are going to be betting on that Cascade Falls area, which is good. It's one of the best places to house yourself, especially for a zone like this, even if it doesn't move directly towards this POI. I do look towards Maestro, though, and Danish a bit further towards that north. For Stormcatcher, though, on the outskirts of our zone, action continues.
High ground continued to be held by Alliance, unable to break through the Catalyst wall on the other side, but Alliance have given us yet another taste of perhaps a new meta. This is just an experimentation game for them, but they've chosen to whip out the Newcastle for this one, giving them a lot of staying power in these later zones. They've won the fight for now, taking away control of the ring console, and fortunately enough for them, Stormcatcher as well. They've got all height, and evidently, you just want nothing to do with them. It's a full disengage on the low ground as Passion leave.
Alliance, though, do have to set their sights a little bit further out towards that western area. They actually can't quite invest on that replicator or console in ways that you would hope. Currently, in a sightline of Nightmare here, I would hope that 7 Fraz and Lineup are going to try to punish this one out, but it seems like they themselves are also more interested in moving forward.
And looking at the play retroactively, Alliance can't even scan the beacon if they wanted to. So not sticking around here because they want the information, but instead trying to bait some fights around the edge of the ring. Alliance trying to get aggressive there purely to pick up KP, and it's an approach. It's a very valid approach. As we get later into the day, and Alliance specifically are one of those teams that's looking down bad in the points.
I always find it interesting with Alliance. They're the other side of the coin.
試しでやってる感じなのかな。
ま
あこのね本番に近い環境で試せるっていう意味では序盤にポイント稼ぐってくっていうのはでかいよね。別に1位とらが5位とらがアドバンテージはないからね。
I will say, when it comes to just generally where they exist right now, taking quite a bit of damage, vested in those medkits.
本当世界大会になると外ムーブになるか内ムーブになるかっていうのが組み合わせで全然地域の組み合わせで全然違うから多分それに向けてどっちもどういう環境になっても対応できるようにいろんな構成を試してるんだろうね。そういう意図が見えるね。
Nightmare's position gatekeeping them starts to look a little iffy as well, and it is just a game of chicken out here. Alliance can tank the zone seemingly forever, and Nightmare have to know with the replicator available. That's a nice little hack, by the way. Hacky's making use of a great gravity cannon tech to grab a little bit of extra verticality.
さあまたパッションがちょっとチラ見してきたけどエフェクトが許さんぞということでしっかり弾いたね。偉いね。
They try to sneak back in to potentially replicate, to maybe get the zone console, to do just about anything. I don't think they expected Alliance to be in this kind of timing there, which, I mean, to me, isn't really surprising. In terms of zone-oriented play, in terms of the timings, they rate the lowest statistically in the entire EMEA region. They take the most time out in zone, not quite the most damage.
We were talking about this earlier, but especially when compared up against Fire Beavers. Fire Beavers have taken enough damage this split from the zone alone to have been knocked 192 times. 192 health bars they've tanked up, Zephyr. It is ridiculous how much time squads like that spend in the zone.
Mind you, they're also still one series behind the rest of some of the other teams here, and they still rate the highest on that statistic.
Absolutely ludicrous what we've gotten from these teams so far. Passion do eventually disengage, and Alliance actually reposition as well. Both teams trying to find themselves, you would say, a happy home in the zone. And Alliance seem to have this high ground uncontested. No one is up here at the top of Cascade Falls.
Tough to hold on to. You have to have a Watson or potentially that of a Newcastle. We don't see it often, but the castle wall does hold its usefulness. Now, granted, I'm not completely sold yet. I am a person who kind of bears his weight when it comes to Newcastle. I really look towards that Watson's interceptor pylon to provide the second half of that defense. So we'll have to see how it fares for Alliance as our game moves on. For Fire Beavers, they're like ducks in the rain when it comes to the storm. Happy to exist here and happy to take this fight.
the best position you have to imagine, and yet Fire Beavers disengaged. They're giving up the replicator on high ground as well as the fight. Clearly shaken by what's occurred earlier in the day. Fire Beavers perhaps not having the games that they expected, and instead making their way towards the zone. You gotta hope they have enough medkits, as Aurora certainly do on their own way out from checkpoint.
Tough for them right now. Obviously, we talk about that next movement forward. Thankfully, the northern side that we talked about earlier on today only really truly held by Maestro and I believe Vortex there, right? So they do have a lot more freedom when it comes to those chokes, albeit not information they currently have available to them.
It's a decent position to find yourself in as well. Very quickly, Aurora do pick up on the fact that other teams are aware of their positioning, and their meds are running a little bit low. They've got to think about how exactly they're going to move into these subsequent zones, as really the closest place they can get. They still have to go through all of wall to make it beautiful. Pulling up the map there is Gravity Cannon straight on over to wall, then to the south, largely uncontested there, but not the end of their journey by a long shot. Aurora, a very difficult button. E6 also way out of the zone.
Taking their time in that millage area as you have Now we turn into the opposite side of the wall of Cascades, where so many of our teams had tried to set up Dynasty versus Nightmare right now. Nightmare looking low on the low ground, already facing a single.
Looks like a disengage coming through from them around the outside, perhaps trying to play underneath the building. We're praying for a third party at this point, but it doesn't look like anyone's coming to save you. Dynasty drop down, and Tolkien finds just a smattering of damage before jumping back up to the rest of the team, wanting to avoid that third party possibility as well. Everybody very aware, especially on Storm Point, that can happen at any second. Nightmare gets choked out on the low ground. They go down, and Dynasty very quickly reset, constantly on their toes, prepared for the next fight.
But notably, it is at the hands of Jailings, which already gives me the information that they have rotated out more directly, playing for the west side of the zone. Tolkien here with the charge Sentinel. You have to hope that one counts. You have to hope they can't get a revive off. Either way, it's happy damage in his hands.
Gonna feel pretty good, and perhaps even having just changed the game of another squad, as right now even fights are going on elsewhere on the map. Bitfix Gaming not having a good time right now, but as it appears, we've got plenty of space to play even among these rocks, as Vortex hold the open ground, and Kella right alongside them sit in the choke.
Taking their time out for this one could be incredibly difficult for Kella. They already dealt with the knock from Tolkien only moments ago. Now back into play here. We talk about the hype that lays ahead of this position. It is something that does work in these final zones that they know they need to have if they want to keep this one moving forward. Problem is, 3v3 is absolutely imminent.
Certainly is, and with the Bangalore smokes, they're not running Catalyst, there's only so much you can do. And the Seer, especially useful if you can find a good place to lay down the ultimate, but Kella don't really have that so far. It's a position to turtle from, to wait for their next rotation, and in this particular case, Odie's Valkyrie may very well come in handy, especially based on this next zone close. Nobody knows where the ring is going after this. It's going to be revealed to all squads simultaneously, Kella included, so let's see what happens.
I will say, coming through here into this open area is never the easiest position, but with that height and that, you can literally see the support bin on the minimap right now. That's like the minor cover you get from that northern angle. Now, granted, not a composition that typically can truly do so, and Vortex much more in a position to start claiming this one out, especially as they slow walk in this next zone.
And I think Kella on the low ground know that. They've started to ping out on Cascade as well. Vortex already making the proactive moves to secure their positioning. As we spoke of, they should have in the bag. They gotta watch their backs though, and holding on to height for right now. Ibushi's got a good angle. Heroes go down to Alliance in the meantime, so we're starting to drop squads as already teams are preemptively rotating in, and Jailings sit atop the height just below Cascade. Actually actually doing really well defending their own building with a plethora of
Fire
defenses.
We talked about it earlier when we saw that fight with Nightmare, and now with this height, they want to make sure they clean out the L before it gets too dire here. Fire Beavers from below already taking full flesh damage. They get the return that they want from above. Max with a double response here. One final member on the interior, 9 impulse back inside for now. Gonna see if he can maybe try to pull off a revive, but at least get that full thirst.
Just trying to secure a point. JMW being full thirsted, there's a big problem for J-Lings, but Impulse has problems of his own as he tries to escape. He got 1 placement point, he got 3 KP. It's a good game for Fire Beavers, but it needs to be better to hit that 6 or more point mark, make them feel all the more comfortable. J-Lings, however, go down to a push from Dynasty, and suddenly the turns have tabled.
The third party comes true here in the end. Dynasty were being shot out. They had those angles, and they knew they could take advantage. Now they themselves also having to contest. They hand this building over in a way. They have to pull themselves back into it. Eternal now choking from all angles. Slab is trying to get in, but the door is blocked. Dynasty are handling this 3v2.
Dynasty know exactly what they need to do, but you don't expect the charge rifle at close range. Eternal strike back. Mania has no health to work with, put up on the height. The massive connection. Eternal go down. 13 squads left, but the fight still isn't over for Dynasty as they're still coexisting. Yet another squad is rolled up. Maybe it's Fire Beavers come back, and it is. As they go down, finally Dynasty get a chance to reset.
It is our Pro League friends from the past, our Challenger Circuit competitors, Dynasty, that come out among the rest. We look back though towards Cascades here, with the majority of our teams are currently stationed. Horizon Union, notably, who have been here all game long. Now, below them, V2, who also host a position. I guarantee that these spots are going to be pulled away. A little bit of that funnel that we saw from that last game.
上にいる人、上上がってきた。アマゾンさんきついね。あ、違う、ソロだ。アマゾンさんソロだ。
See the death boxes drop, but aren't too worried as Horizon controlling the high ground as well should be able to bunker up should they choose to, and I believe they should. Is this ring only closing further out from them? The Horizon Union have to start thinking about their rotation and how it'll compare to those of the squads around them.
I really like the space that they're starting to work with here, but it is still no guarantee. It's a direct low ground.
ケラがめっちゃ削られてるけど、位置的にはケラが有利だね。ダイナスティの方が位置はきつい。ただ挟まれるんで、VC 上挟まれたらきつい。これはきつい。前詰めようってなったら、もう前やるしかないとケラは判断した。
They absolutely are. This ends with 2 squads dead. Vortex see that the fight is over, know that their time is now, and in they come to clean up Kella Gaming. 1 more member left on the other side, and it's all Vortex as they take down both Dynasty and Kella Gaming for the price of 1.
Just Bushi, by the way. Just Bushi. Didn't need to extend anybody else over there to get the job done. They are now the only team outside of height that actually reigns supreme. All these buildings no longer play. Alliance, KCB, they all have to find a way out gaming the first team to move. And the first team to be in the stream of bullets.
Now Alliance have no position to play, but they do have a new castle. If they can make use of this, they could survive.
当てすぎ。いやー、パッドの当たり速度じゃない。製造能力高すぎ。いやー、しかもニューキャッスルだ。VCGO が常に生きてるが守れるか、アライアンス。あー、きついか、さすがにきついな。てかもう最終舞台じゃん。おーい。早っ、終わんの。 もう VCG はあれがカスケードホールじゃない方全部取り切ってたんだ。で、アライアンスがカスケードホール側を全部取り切って最終決戦って感じだったんだね。VCG は8キル、アライアンス9キルと。もうアライアンスと BCGO がもう全部取り切ったって感じだね。エフェクトやばすぎよ、あれ。 最終は まあ、V2 が変わらず、まあ、今回ちょっとポイントもそこそこ稼いでたし、5ポイントぐらい稼いだかな。1位キープ、マイストロは多分そんなに稼いでないな。で、ホライゾン、ジェリング。で、アライアンスが今回で、そうだね、さっき1ポイントだったもんね。さっき1ポイントだったのが一気に9位まで上昇。VCGO も今回のポイントで一気に急上昇って感じだね。まあ、まだまだ混戦。半分終わってこんだけ接戦だったら分かんないね。さあ、後半戦ワールドエッジを見ていきましょう。
Pathfinder of all legends has chosen to whip it out here, and fortunately enough has the movement to get away if needed.
And the leaderboard here for the day. They have to step things up going into World's Edge. And one team in particular that we've been looking at a lot, Aurora. They've had the biggest question mark. A lot of teams have been talking about them, not even just in the EMEA region. It's kind of that, like, I wouldn't say we're going to go with the what's happened, because I feel like a lot of teams are running into issues here in Split 2, whether it's the current meta, it's adapting to some things. But I will say, I want to shout out Aurora for putting out content pieces on YouTube with English subtitles, because I have a language barrier when it comes to learning out a lot about that. And, you know, Ranches himself said he prefers World's Edge better, so I guess we've got to see what's going to happen here, Dia.
もうすでに
Passion already hot dropping. Seems like they're going to find the fight up against Maestro. It's a pretty nice one to take as they got the uneven drop. But with Rugby also going down, it's time for Maestro to head for the hills. You're not getting this revive. And Sanya on the Pathfinder of all legends has chosen to whip it out here. Unfortunately enough, has the movement to get away if needed.
There was a full article done by Tom about why Sanya was breaking out the Pathfinder. And this is paining me because I can't even say that I read it. I have it tabbed to, and so go now if you haven't read that article. It will tell you all the answers of why they are breaking out the Pathfinder. But now Sanya, the lone Pathfinder in World's Edge, trying to hide from Passion. You can run, but they know exactly where you're heading.
Got some good angles with the Nemesis. See if he can make it up through these zip lines, and it appears that Passion won't be overextending. A wise position from them is out of staging. You want to get as much loot as possible. The POI is really good because it actually has some decent loot for you to pick up, and nice pathing out of there as well. Should still be a quick rotation, however, as the zone is pulling us up into the northwestern side, largely encircling the Countdown, Skyhook, and Trials areas. And we know how it gets when zones pull like this. Tiff. It's so important to move yourself there quickly and get to the northern side of Trials if you can.
Well, you think about the teams that land Trials and Skyhook West. I think immediately E6. This is an E6 zone for them. And if they can establish that position earlier, which they already will have the advantage to do so, they're going to have all the loot from Trials. So they're going to be absolutely boosted and ready to take a fight. When we talk about all the calls for zone, Kansas City Pioneers, you know, Nasty, the moment he sees some of those zones, he's going to want to start that rotation and put them in a game-winning play position. They already made their way first, and you can just see E6 setting up inside that tower immediately.
It's a good position to hold. We talked about wanting to prioritize the north, and there is some room for doubt here. KCP gets to split the difference by sitting inside of Trials where you have access to both the Skyhook and further western areas. They are one of those teams that is going to be privileged in this way, where looking a little further south at teams like Heroes and Nightmare, Heroes especially today who've been playing aggressively, they're going to need to make use of that in order to get themselves into a good position. Because looking at the chokes they have to go through, I don't envy them. There's tunnel outside of Landslide. There's all this open ground out to the west of Landslide, and then there's Lava Fissure that gets more treacherous as you go further into the west. More of a chance of being held out, more teams to go through. It's a very scary time to be in the Apex Legends Pro League, but that's the reality these teams are facing up against, and one that Phoenix Legacy is already coming to terms with.
Ooh, that's going to be rather challenging. I feel like we just saw Alpha Draft potentially go down. Because there goes the res off. Shout out to Stabs for being able to recover that. But Horizon is positioning themselves in a very, very nice way. I like that, but they need to make sure that they can manage to handle that. But Nasky, this is brilliant, you know, going to high ground and getting that charge rifle in near LOS of E6 to completely deteriorate their resources. Now that's something that's tough, right? E6 lands trials and they only get to loot this area, which will give you good shields, good bags, maybe a gold knockdown to boot, but you're not going to have a plethora of healing resources here. So if Nasky can utilize the charge rifle and absolutely grief them to a sense, you have to be able to maintain that, and that's going to be tough. Yeah.
強いと帰れなかったチームはとりあえず家入ろうって家に帰ってきた方から痛い
It is about picking up as much HP as you can for this end game, and that's what Pioneers are playing for. They're not looking for the second-to-second plays, but instead absolutely focusing on 10, 15 minutes out from now, when eventually they're going to have to drop down from trials and preparing themselves for a play like that. Perhaps a little overextension. Zane and Nasky seek a play that truly doesn't exist as J-Links have pushed all the way inside and have themselves yet another skirmish to contend with. It's a great generator that should keep J-Link safe, but it's temporary safety as they're flanked.
Yeah, you think about the Jenny coming out 250 HP for the shields, and it's going to eat up any ordnance that comes their way. And you can see that Archer immediately sucked up, and Nag's going to push in and completely cuts the wings off of Yolu. Now with that opening knock, this gives J-Lings the advantage, and they can kind of just heal. Nags will have to get some shields before he can go back in, but this is Noises and JMW's time to kind of shine and encompass, putting damage down so they can focus on healing.
It's an ingenious way to deal with the situation, but they're not the only ones fighting. Fire Beavers have their own engagement up against the Gaben Gladiators. It seems to be going their way as J-Link certainly have enough time to take on V2. It's been a quick wall out of Izidan to defend the last two remaining members, but there's nowhere to go for V2. It's not an easy exit out of trials, and they certainly can't stay here.
No, and I mean, you've already got a match win in map number 2, so you don't want to go out now. You want to continue that consistency. Meanwhile, Gaming Gladiators is our first team to fall here in match number 4. You'd recently highlighted them kind of taking on Fire Beavers, but Nightmare on the kill feed right there has already picked a dock onto 2 members of the FB team. That's rather dire for them, and they do run the gauntlet of being on the edge, but things are looking to be a little tough for them near Fragment. But J-Ling's still here, now sitting on triple blue, so a very good engagement for them, and they're not going to continue that fight onto V2. V2's kind of just saying, hey, we're disengaging, we understand. They weren't even able to get the banner from Yolu.
And it's a risky disengage exactly because of this. We talked about it when they were inside. You can't stay inside, and you can't very well leave. V2 are forced into a no-win situation, and very quickly taken down. 17 squads left is the natural conclusion of the engagement we just saw in trials. Danish actually encountering a similar position as they've got to transform themselves in between buildings, finding one already occupied.
This is kind of interesting. We've had a lot of pop-off moments from Danish on their last match day showing, so I was really excited to see what they were going to bring to the table today. And coming into map number 4 in 18th place with 17 points overall, I feel like this is the game in which they're going to have to turn the tide. But checking in with everyone's favorite Beavers, it's going to be the Fire Beavers. 9 Impulse last alive for the team, does not have the banners, and has kind of done a negative rotate out into the zone to see if he can finesse himself, maybe bide some time to hope that that team is choosing to rotate and not banner camp.
Oh, the survey that's going to be really tough. Now that he knows there's nowhere truly to run but back into the zone, Impulse is going to be hiding for now, but you already know that there's going to be a sear on his tail, and he's got to wait this out, waiting for the medkit to happen. It's not going to be an easy fight. And Kella take out the Fire Beavers. Yet another team near the bottom of the leaderboard that has taken out the Fire Beavers once more, as these late rotates are starting to bite them finally in match day number 7.
Yo, you say that so politely, but if I'm 9 Impulse there and I'm just trying to get my teammates' banners back and that map room scan comes in and I know there's a seer on that team, I am screaming. It's fine, it's fine.
It's a really tough situation to deal with, and I think that going into that, you know the survey beacon's right there. There's a good probability that it's happening, and honestly, good play from Kella as well. Fire Beavers do like to play with I hesitate to call
ワ
it
ットソンとか
disrespect,
に
but
対し
certainly a
て
little bit of ego as they try and
マットマキで
find
ウルトぶん
situations
投げて
where
ぶっ
other
壊
teams
した
aren't
後ガ
performing
スウル
optimally,
ト
where
で
other teams aren't prepared. In that
取り
situation,
切るっていう
Kella
作戦だね
absolutely are because
建
people
物
are
を絶
dialing
対
it
取ろう
in
という
as we approach the end of this
攻めの構
season.
成
You're
だ
not
ね
giving up any space. Aurora
面
haven't
白い
given
な
up any strats until now, but this game certainly gives us one. The composition of Wraith, Caustic, and Mad Maggie to be whipped out here.
マードマーギ
This is kind of the Aurora of the past that I was really excited to see. Sunset was typically playing a lot of Seer, but now putting him on the Caustic. It's that legend composition that we saw being broke out in Split 1 and a little bit here in Split 2 in the building that they're playing for right now is really beneficial for them. I like it a lot. It gives them a little bit of an edge into that next zone, but unfortunately, no Valks are allowed to survive on any kind of repositioning. Like, you should know that by now. It's Valve ultimates are so highly punished, and then when you're having a Seer on an enemy comp, when you go to hit that res, that immediate cancellation, and heroes are looking highly aggressive, and Luby said, hey,
Wow,
if you are
long
looking to
ball.
avoid
Oh my
relegation,
God.
nice
Oh my-
freaking
そこでロング
sentinel
ボール打
shot,
つの
bro.
ね。
What is heroes on today?
Babylon's just playing differently right there,
So
finding the
Yoku
knock out of the sky,
Taisen
then the knock on the ground, but it's got to be a quick reset for them. With the Digis inside the smoke, heroes buy themselves a little bit of time. You combo that with the zeros, and their reset goes off without a hitch as Aurora perhaps have found themselves one. Unfortunately, short wall around the outside. You've got to take a moment as Passion to evaluate this, and if I see Caustic Maggie, I tell you what, I'm not pushing.
カタリスト
No,
は
dude,
外から
there's
攻める
no
の強い
way
ぞ
I
扉を
want to
固
push
められ
inside
るか
that
ら
building with a caustic. You know they're
近くにアライ
utilizing
ア
those
ンスもい
Nox
る
gas traps to
そうだね
effect. They've
固
already
めたいね
burned through their dark veil, expended a
あ
lot of
オーロ
the
ラ引いたの
resources,
かはい
and
いい
they've
反応
taken
だ
a
ね
primarily
カタリスト
large
いるって
source
分かって
of
たらすぐ引
damage
いた
there.
ね
And so very, very tough, but you can see that Aurora has already repositioned themselves into like kind of
さあ
crescent
3組
moon
状態
style area, and you're just having to
アラ
duck
イアンスは
behind
ちょっときついかな
boxes, supply
円に
bins.
入っ
It's
てないから
relatively in the open, but yes, it's in the zone, and now Passion is going to have to push out of that building to get to where Aurora is. And you know, Sunset is going to have to do his best anchoring with those barrels to prevent people from being able to walk up, whether you're nestling them by the trucks, which you can see doing well sourcing that. And if Ranches can utilize the nemesis there to lay down a lot of damage on Passion before rotating, and this should be an easy cleanup for them, which is something that we need from Aurora. We know they can fight, and honestly, go check out that YouTube content that Aurora is putting out. It was like 120 seconds with Ranches. I learned a lot about him. Man doesn't like spiders or snakes, but I will tell you, if he had an ability to choose between flying or shooting webs out of his hands, he would pick the shooting webs. And as someone named Spirotip right now, I like it.
It's looking good. Whether it be their positioning or their choice of superpower, I'm surprised at the fact that he would have chosen to shoot web, despite the fact that he doesn't like spiders.
西側をこの
That's what
3
I
チー
thought
ムの
too.
うち
Immediately, I was like,
勝った
huh,
と
man,
こ
I
ろが
don't know
入
if
れる
Ranches
感
and I
じ
could be
だ
friends.
ね
But then as soon as he said the web slinging, I was like, that's it. But Passion
Yeah,
coming in.
Semen
They're
no
making a
Taso no
full
Mato.
on push, but Mad Maggie Ball gonna stun Maz. This is what Aurora needs, but they
Ah,
have the
that's
upper
yo,
hand
yeah.
in this fight. Cleave goes
や
down.
っぱ守りは弱えな
So now we
この
look
構
towards
成
Ranches
攻
to
め強い
make
んだけ
the
ど
living here for Aurora.
守れなすぎ
So
る
many ults attempted to be used as this zoning
ああいう
ability,
時は
whether
もう
it be
3
the
人でせーの
caustic
で行くし
ults,
かない
even
よ
the
ねマットマ
barrels,
ギーと
even
ガ
the
スのウル
Mad
ト同
Maggie
じとこに
ball.
投げてい
Everything
った
was
それ
expended there to try and keep
いや
Aurora
エフェクト
safe. And even now,
エフェ
Passion
クト
try and
強す
put
ぎ
up a
て
little
キ
bit of
ー
a
シールドがで
zoning
かい
wall with this catalyst. We'll see
ただ
how well it works for them as they are pulling up the res in cover.
あーなるほど
Passion's around the corner,
左を
though, and
潰して
Alliance
右
are
から
here
行く
to
とうまい
fry.
ね
Passion, go down.
Hack is my man.
だから勝ては
You're a demon. Like we all know, effect is
勝て、体が。
phenomenal. But the trio,
体
and we're
力が
sticking
減らなすぎる
to
ニュー
the
キャッスル
Newcastle here. Hackett firmly believes something. I would love to be hearing like his reasoning behind the implementation of this, because every time that they play what is comfortable for them in terms of legend composition, they find a way to utilize it. Right? Yuki broke out the rampart. They used it so incredibly well. Hackett's on the Ash. And it's kind of like,
エフェクトの方が強そう
don't
だよ
knock it
ね
until you try it, because just because it might not work for your team doesn't mean that Alliance can't make it happen. Meanwhile, we got exhibits going out like crazy. Bitfix is about to get into a scuffle. Kella Gaming falls off screen to 12 squads remaining.
これ
Bitfix
で
don't have digis for this fight, so they're
だいぶ
pushing
有利。
into their own smoke.
そうだね、その突っ
But
込
it's
み
a
だけ
tough
3人せー
fight
の
to
で突っ
take.
込む
It's
の
a
だけ
nice use of the Horizon Ultimate
気を
around
つ
the
ければ
outside, causing some
ビットフィックスがめちゃめちゃ有
disruption
利。
on the
ただちょっ
innards
と攻め上
as
げるって
Bitfix
他の初
again
戦もあ
forced
る
to
かな。
disengage due to a stick on
よく
two
守ってる
tricks.
な。
They're having a real difficult time pushing this, and I don't know if it's worth it anymore, Tiff, because other squads are starting to take note.
Look, if you're just here to make
ちゃんと
noise,
3人で
there's
同
a
じ方向
certain
見て
point
る
where you have to realize this is not a good fight. We need to prioritize our
から
life, prioritize zone.
待
We
つだ
made
けでいいんだね、
so
ビットフィックスは。
much noise here,
た
and
だ
we're
その降
going
りた
into
先にもい
straight
る
open space. The seer cancel comes in, that
ヒーロー
heal is
ズか
going
な
to be, and now all of these arc stars are going to be inundating them. So this is tough. Now that you've completely wasted your time by trying to take that fight, look at heroes who have been a
中に入っ
complete
てた多分
aggressive force here
VCGO
today
は
are
その
looking
まん
to
ま
put
ヒーローズ
themselves in
に
an
そっく
open
かられてい
advantage.
やまだ残ってん
It's
だ
another
まだ
situation
いるわ
much like Vortex from last game as well, but I recognize that controlling this open space is going to
これ
work
ヒーロー
really
ズ
well
といい
for
ファ
them.
イト
There
に
aren't a lot of teams that should be
なるん
rotating
だったらそ
around
れ
the
に遅れる
southern
ぞ
edge, and instead, heroes get to play Gatekeeper. They have just two teams in front of them coming from Countdown that have to go past them in order to access the next zone that is continuing to pull us out into the west of
そうだね
Trials.
ヒーローズはこの南側の門番ゲー
Yeah,
トキ
this is
ーパー
kind
と
of
な
a
って
disgusting zone.
全
You
部
think of where
勝っ
E6
て
was in particular
取りたい
inside the
取り切りたいね
tower. That's actually
ま
out
だ
of
多分あ
zone
そこは
at
上
this
からの
point,
車
so
線
they're
通んな
going
い
to
と
have
思うん
to
だよ
find
な
their way into
ビットフィッ
trials.
トは
And you
それ
think
が
of
もう
who
きつ
was
いと
North
判断
Phoenix?
してアライアン
Legacy
ス側
was
に
kind
行
of
ったね
holding the
だから
buildings
そっちもアライアンス
north
い
of
るから
trial on the
な
outskirts of the
裏
mountain.
側
So
回ってい
they
けるかどう
would be
か
able to gatekeep should E6 decide to rotate around the back end to maybe hit the side that J-Lings has been occupying since the pretty much
Heroes
start
でかい
of
ね
this
そこ取れてるの
entire game when they were engaging with V2 inside. So,
さあ
and you
パ
know
イオニア
J-Lings
ズ
with
は
the
もう
Watson, they
キ
are
ル
going
取り
to
放題
be
で
living inside,
クレ
making
バー
it
出るそこから
everyone's worst nightmare
この位置
to
で
kind
あ
of
終わった
penetrate
あ
into the zone.
チャージライブ
Pioneers
先
another
当てる
early
から
rotator
さあ
into
ビ
the
ットフィッ
zone,
ク
and
ス
let's
は
not forget E6
裏回っ
that
て
set
これたけど
themselves
アライアン
up
ス来ちゃ
on
ったた
that
だ
high
ニューキャッスルに
ground.
対してメタとな
For
っ
the
ているホ
meantime,
ライ
it'll
ゾン
be
を交
Bitfix
代してい
gaming
る
trying to make their own
あ
rotation,
アライ
and
アン
they've
スがいっ
chosen
ぱい
to
溜めた
bypass taking on
シ
heroes,
ール
but
ドを
haven't found themselves
全
an
部取られ
easier
たビット
fight.
フィックスにこれは
This is
ま
tough.
ず
I
い
feel like Alliance has just been
こ
a
れはちょっ
space
と形勢逆転した
outside
ぞ
of zone here
構成 的
denying
に
rotation. And as soon as Bitfix leaves a really
ビットフィックス
precarious
は攻める
situation,
の
moving
方が
straight
有利
into
だから
another one. Already got his wall out.
ウ
He's
ルトが溜ま
like,
ってるんだ
you
ったらビットフィッ
activated
クス
my
が圧
trap
倒的有
card,
利
and now
アライアンスは
they have to
東岸の視
contest
線も
with
気
the
にしなくちゃいけないの
powerhouse.
がやばい
Your season 2 kill leader affecting Co. This is dynamic, but it's what Alliance needed.
さあただ円が来れば来るほどビットフィックスがどんどん不利になっていくからビットフィックスは早めに終わらしたい早めに終わらしたいよ勇気の場所がいいさあただ2対2対2ニューキャッスルの華麗なストレイフあー強いビットフィックスマジ
You
か
have to move with the Ranger back. You
Eternal
have to
to-
say, hey, I don't know if we're going to be able to get that
Tennis
res off. So now we're playing our life here for 2. But we were talking pre-broadcast, like, what would that new third look like on Bitfix? This is the first time we're actually getting to see them here on an ALGS match day. And that was to form. That looked impressive. You're not going up against, you know, someone that's made it to a plethora of lands, that has so much experience. Like, that fight was solid.
Phoenix Legacy
J-League
going
とパイオニア
down.
は
We're
一生
starting
残れ
to
る
whittle
ね
away at squads that have been here since the beginning. E6, KCP,
そうだね
J-Lings, however,
で北エレメン
still
ト6でし
around,
ょで
still waiting for their positioning to
は
truly pay off. And it
車線
has
が
to an
きつすぎ
extent.
るな
Wasted points have started to roll in.
あてか
but it
エターナ
isn't
ルあれか
enough
多分
for
ヒーロー
squads
ズ
that
倒
are
し
at
た
the
ね
top of their game like this.
ヒーローズを
E6
エターナルが
slowly
倒して南が
approaching
取り
from
切
the
っ
north
て
and absolutely in
でビットフィ
danger
ックス
as
西側
eventually
南側
J-Lings
に
will have to come face to
エ
face
タ
with
ー
them.
ナル北側エレメ
Yeah,
ント
J-Lings is
6
going to have to play
試練
for
の下
that
に
door
ジ
where
ェ
we
イン
kind
グ
of
試
see
練の上
Naz's
にパイ
name
オニ
by,
ア
and we
と
know KCP is
1 2
up
3
on
4
top,
あと一
right?
部隊い
So
る
at
な
any point in time, and I mean, Nasky with a
そこいる
crater,
試
7
練の
bullets, and he's going to be looking down at
スカイ
the
フック側
rest
から来た
of the team because they
バルジャン
don't
で
necessarily have to jump down. Oh,
うわ
do it. Come on,
あ
Nasky. Do it
やめ
to
て
him
う
now.
わーなんか
Peek
刺し
your
た
little head. That's
なんか
exactly
あやば
what
い
he's thinking. Like, come
う
on,
わ
peek. Okay.
オッケ
And that's okay.
Okay,
Because we've got
Gnesk.
6 more bullets to make this happen. We can go
そうい
again.
う時
GG
もあ
go
る
next. Let's hit this next one.
And the nice thing about where Nasky is positioned right
当てる
now
や
is
つが
that
すげえん
there
だから
aren't really sight
こんな
lines from the low ground onto this. Pioneers
さあパイオ
are
ニアズはただ
fully
圧倒
aware
的
that they only have to
に
take take a 3v3 with a Kraber and R99, that's absolutely doable. Pioneers just have to hold on to their position defensively and hopefully not lose Nasty to a drop down. That's the only thing that could really change their game for the worse.
there's nothing worse than when you're playing high ground and you just accidentally fall off. And you're like, well, you know, I wasn't really planning on doing that. We've seen that happen time and time again. But this one connects for Naskia. Nice 140. And he's going to be able to sit here and get any off chance that they push a little too far away from that rock. But it's going to be Vortex making that push on the low ground. They are able to grab a knock onto Nags. And this is turning into a fight where they have the advantage because you've already got kind of that entry fragger from J-Ling's down. But if you let this go too long, oh, just like that, E6 is able to clean up. J-Ling's is down. 4 squads remaining.
This was always the problem. J-Lings had to feed into E6. KCP pushed Vortex down into the low ground. But now Vortex find themselves in a similar situation. They're sandwiched between E6 and Ethereal, and you have to imagine they're not making it out alive. Before we see that final ring close, I want to hear what it's like from the perspective of E6. So let's jump into a listen with them.
パイオニアーズの裏側にいたのが上から下に降りてきたのかな。さあ、北、南、中で3チームで、いっちゃん上に1チーム。パイオニアーズはバルジャンとかあれば逆側に飛べるんだけど、その移動手段があるかどうか。移動手段がないんだったら上にいるうちに下をボコボコにしたい。お、ウィニーがホライゾン使ってエレメント6はほんとキャラピックの幅が広いな。いろんな構成使ってて面白いわ。
I'm gonna scan the guys inside.
This is really close to the end zone as well. If we can take control of that later on, we take it, okay?
Okay.
If we play that, the team on top is gonna like do something on
The
them
team
for
on
sure.
top has to pop anyway.
Yeah.
深い声が
Try and scan to see when they're gonna drop.
あー KCP は降り
One
て
team
きて
walls.
カタリストで降りたね。
2-2-0. I think the team
あ、
on
う
top
まい
is
うまい
dropped.
うまいうまいうまい。
Yeah.
一番ヘイト買わない位置に行ったけど、もうちょっと行きたかったね。エレメント6が先に車線広げちゃったわ。
Also,
そうで一番邪魔な
the
KCP。
team's coming out now. They're playing the rock.
Round the back, we're fine.
あ、戻ってきた。パイロンがあって潰せなかったから戻ろうと。
Avoid that suit.
Okay, I nearly cracked the guy inside.
Yeah, you're good, Kenda. That's perfect spot. You're good, you're good.
Yeah, yeah.
これはでもエレメント6は広く車線取ってて強いぞ。
That's the test fire.
そうエターナルが死ぬ。
Last
It's the
cluster.
last 2 squads.
But that one knock on the right.
あれかな KCP は中詰めてったかな。
See it, squads.
あーこれはもう独断上です。エレメント6。これもうどんどん中に詰めるだけ。はーい強い。素晴らしいです。 KCP 惜しかったらもっと奥行きたかったんだろうね。もっと奥行って
Well, that was
アンチの
absolutely
逆が取り
impressive
たかった
there
んだろう
by
けど、ちょっと移
E6.
動
A
手
lot
段
of
が
questions. I immediately
使っ
knew.
た
I
な。
remember they had a new third
もう
coming
一個
into
で
it.
も
Not
う
only
一
a
個
new third here,
カタリ
but
ス
a
トのル
new
ートがあったら
analyst
もう
as
一本
well. And
引い
we were
て
curious
エレメン
how
ト
would
6側
that
に引い
work
て
for them. They
こう
get
ヘイ
the
ト買わないように
gift
できたん
of
だ
a
けど
zone. They
ちょっと
handle it
足りなかったね、い
exponentially
ろいろ。
well, and the comms sounded good. So let's go ahead and talk with
まあしっかり
Kindy's
広く
fort,
最終アン
right?
チ
I
に
don't
向
know
け
if I'm
て
pronouncing that right because
敵を
anytime you
囲
put
うように
numbers
ね
and
場
letters
所
and
取り
like
をしてた
abbreviations,
エレメント6が
17-year-old from Spain, brand new
見
member
事
of
勝ちま
E6.
し
Yeah.
たと。
And they put a lot of trust in him.
注意見してもらっていいですか。
Forming
ゲー
teams
ム単体の
in
ゲーム単体のは見せて
Cut
くれ
to
な
a
いですか。
quick break.
見せてくれなそうです。はい。VCGO が上位に食い込んでましたので、そのまま安定したポイント稼ぎ1位に上がりました。V2 は初頭落ちかな多分。でパイオニアーズも、順当にポイントを稼ぎまして3位にランクイン。J リングは途中で潰されたからちょっとだけポイントプラスかな。エレメント6は7位まで上がってきましたので、まあまだ10位以内に17ポイントだからね、全然ワンチャンピオンで簡単にひっくり返せる位置にある。だいぶ団子です。だいぶどこ1位になるかわからない状況で、初動がどうですか。また被ってますね。パッションとマイストラまた被ってます。
Maestro, obviously, you can already tell potentially having that height and may be effective. I always do worry about staging, especially with Aurora so nearby. Granted, the current structure of their resources do not look healthy and potentially don't bode well, but they are pushing them back. That is impressive.
さあマエストロが今回マエストロが
I've been
押し込んだね。
really enjoying it recently, but I'll be
サニがパスやめたね。
and height.
サニが
It
すぐ
still
パスやめ
seems
て
like on the
ちゃん
low
とした
ground
構
the
成に戻
call
っ
is
た。
to disengage. Maestro effectively win
今回は
themselves half a
パッション側
POI,
が
a little bit of extra
あ、
loot
一人
just by
かける
sticking
取ら
to
れた
their
んだ。
guns and having
ランド
taken
スライ
out
ド逃げていく。
0-0.
ランドスライドが空いてるん
Passion
だね。
unfortunately forced to
なるほど、なる
disengage
ほ
with
ど。
a landslide.
So we obviously did miss that light section there, but now's my question:
ま
Where's
あお
Phoenix
互いそん
Legacy?
な最速ム
This is
ーブ
the
ってわ
team
けじゃ
that
ない
comes
から
through, and it is still well
妥
within
協は
their
したくないって感
rotational
じだ
period.
ね。
You
今のところ
have
一
to
勝一
wonder
敗。
where they potentially ended up if they're already gone. Maybe they rotate even faster than I have imagined. Currently at technically the lowest or fastest looting team, but oh, look at that!
They have indeed
actually-
rotated fast.
It's
ちょっと右だっ
separated
た、思
imp
ってるよ
though.
り。
He is down. He had to take the other
まあ
choke
列
because
車か
Passion came in there.
な
Now,
列
granted, it's
車
so early that it
この
really
辺
doesn't matter.
この
But
辺
they
じゃない
are
かな。
forced on a slight delay as we
彼
do
雪
start
山
to
とか
discuss
呼んないと
this
思うんだよな。
northeastern zone.
一旦
So
寄っ
many
て
of our
戻る
teams
とかあるか
already
もしれない
making
け
their
ど。
way forward.
まあ無難
Vortex
にこの
more
辺だ
than
な。
happy to have this one gifted.
もうちょ
But
い
you
車
can
体
already
勢や
see
るかもしれないけど。
Jailings so
半
quick
分よ
with
り
it.
右側だと。
Yeah,
この
I'm really
第二の
appreciating
半
how
分
they
より
play
右側
right now
で、特に
because
北側。
showing up
こっちか
again
な。
early to a zone that does favor people who are able to take northern positions is really beneficial. And with where Jailings are sat right now, they even have options if this ring starts to pull a little further south to play the rocks outside of Overlook. It's a good position from them. Bitfix, however, up on height, have a great position of their own as they start to take a fight. Remembering, of course, the third parties could very
移動
well
中に
be in the
BFG に
area.
狩られた感じかな。
We can obviously see
絡まれたんだ。
KCP well within that distance there, but tell you what,
アサリの
Passion
腰を
just
狙ってた
can't
のにぶ
catch
つ
a
かっちゃっ
break.
たんだね、
Once
BFG。
again, down to their last remaining member here. It doesn't seem like Bitfix have the
おい
tracking
おい。
underway, and it might be all
ソロ
Skyhook
か。
here forward for
残りソロ
Passion,
って
but
分か
they
ってるか
do
ら追って
catch
る
the
ね。
tail end of some damage there, and it's likely going to be the continued assault.
Yeah, Bitfix can actually chase this for the rotation in. Depends what choke they want to try and take. Skyhook completely empty at the moment of most teams who should have rotated in. And Bitfix have the option to choose between a rotation through Skyhook, one that takes them up to the north, or through the choke points by Sniper Tower leading into Fragment. It appears that their rotation is going to take them more directly towards the Grandma's house area and perhaps the survey beacon that lies there, while E6 start to make a push of their own, heading out again towards the north, towards this zone that, as we believe, should be favoring teams that do hold the more northern positions.
エレメント6と
I
北の端をね。
directly look towards where
狙いに行
Gaiman
ってますが。
Gladiators are right now, or my apologies. No, I said that right. Gaiman Gladiators.
まあまあまあまあ。
I'm tricking myself. I get used to my other
一旦敵
pronunciation.
の位置
Either
把
way,
握、
a strong,
上に
solid
同居してる
position
こと
for
を確
them,
認。
Jailings, and even Eternal. I would predict this one to be more of an eastern
だ
pull
いぶ
there,
遅
or
いね、今
potentially
回移動が
up
ね。
towards that kind of hillside that comes away for Climatizing.
まあ
But
諦
you
めたチ
still
ームが
gotta
多い
count
の
the
かな、多分。
POI,
もう
right?
あまり
It
にも
is
北
still
に寄っ
such
てる
an
から、今
effective
回はゆっ
place
く
to
り移動
play
しようみたいな
for
チームが
your
多いんで
early
しょう
game, even if it is very likely that especially this side of it will no longer be available when we do start to discuss Zone 4 further.
Cyril for Cyril means that Phoenix Legacy and E6 will largely leave each other alone now. It's a tenuous position to coexist from, but one that Phoenix Legacy can manage and hopefully farm for a little bit of damage. That's really their biggest concern at the moment, is making sure that they are not walking into zones 3 and beyond with white shields. As much as you can get done with the Rampage, even the R99 at close distances like this, to give yourself the extra 25 HP bump, the better, because it's going to count for a lot later in the game.
Now, KCP, we talked about them coming out of that countdown area.
一
They
旦様子
decided
見かな、
not
多
to
分
third
周
party
り
and
にどの
instead
くらい
take
部
this
隊が
fight.
残
That
って
building
るの
was
か、ア
already
ンチナインの
taken
チーム、
out
外
and
のチー
away
ムどのくらいい
by,
るのか
I
っていうのを
believe,
把握
Game
す
and
るために、
Gladiators here. For them, it's going to be the bridge
建物の
instead.
中入るっていうよ
Still,
りかは移動
not
が
a
しやすい
bad
ポジションに移
position
動してるね。
whatsoever here. It is very difficult to hold all of the angles that exist in this current spot, but it still allows you to kind of transfer down that hillside into where we think that zone is pulling much better than, say, having to compete outside of Climatizer.
Yeah, and you do have to really time this properly as well. This is so often what we've coined as the bridge of death when teams land here. So I appreciate that Pioneers are already scouting out alternate positions that they can take, perhaps even sieging on this macaroni building before other teams do start to arrive. They get a good shield break early on. KCP are going to play things slow and steady, not wanting to overextend with Game and Gladiator shooting them in the back.
Now, likely, it is still incredibly early here, and so this position probably going to be relatively safe, at least for the next 2 to 3 minutes. But it's epicenter in that building that do pose issues, and as a result, Pioneers are moving. They want nothing to do with it. They see they've got space available. They see they have access points here in Climatizer. And decide to take it out in a way. We'll have to see, especially in the late game, if this zone does pull outward from this POI. Will this have been that kind of, well, game-breaking decision that holds them back?
Could have been, and that's the risk that you always run when you're taking rotations like this. E6, Phoenix Legacy still poking at each other. Phoenix Legacy, unfortunately, not having been able to pull out the Evos just yet. E6 are making positive trades every time, not giving an inch up against PXL, who unfortunately are just hemorrhaging resources. Thank God they have the Watson up on the high ground to at least be able to give them some semblance of safety. Another double seer ult means that, again, these teams won't be pushing each other again. We're at a standstill, Zephyr, and everybody, especially in Climatizer, is just holding their breath right now.
I'll tell you who's holding their breath, trying to stay as quiet as can be. Amazing Passion kicked off in Bitfix. They did actually opt to fall through from Skyhook, albeit it didn't quite look like that the last time we saw them. That's going to be your first team eliminated here at the hands of not only Bitfix, but of course Maestro from early on in this game. Happy to now have that KP confirmed.
Surprising to see the way that it's played out until now, and Bitfix do give up a lot of their rotational time, opting to play Edge as a result. They're going to be coming out of Skyhook a lot later than everyone else in the lobby, and again, making their way off north in a similar fashion. They're very late. As a result, we're starting to craft up already. Get yourself in the best position, and for right now, Mozambique's actually looking pretty good should you choose to pick it up, because hammer points, I am a big fan of.
It takes that weapon from what you assume is a short-range addition to, I mean, more of an oppressive take in terms of the mid. Now, I don't think anyone's going to be dropping any one of these kinds of weaponry to pick that one up, at least this late into the game. But I do love to talk about it when we get the chance, especially in the early game. If you can adjust to the projectile speed and take advantage of that tighter spread, it can be such a good tool. And it's actually something that we did get to see. We didn't get to really see, but Maestro, they had it in their hands as they took that against 0-0.
Yeah, it would be cool if we get to an end game and see that play out. However, what we're seeing play out right now is a push from Alliance, and it's right onto KCP. Remember the importance of these seer ults, something that KCP have not elected to use yet. Neither team really, as everybody holds on to these resources. The Pioneers do evidently have a little bit of safety to work with, despite the open sightlines just off to the north, because Alliance have opted into the low ground with Newcastle. This is a great move, Zephyr.
I think it is something that is going to last at least for the next two zones, but it does always worry me. We talk about this specific area and the sightlines that come through from that bridge and from Game and Gladiators. Right now, it's not a problem because I don't even think someone's playing those spots, but especially as some of our late rotating teams come on in, our zone clearly caters more towards this eastern side. とグレをぶち込まれたら終わるけども、わざわざあそこに投げるほど体をぶん投げるチームもいなさいそうだよね。
That's absolutely true, and I do wonder whether teams will choose to jump in onto Alliance. If anyone does try late Valk ult there, they've got the extra bit of cover, but it ain't exactly the best position to play in the first place. In the meanwhile, however, Heroes, they've encountered a little bit of trouble trying to make their own edge rotation. It's not particularly a super late one style of play that they're going for. However, it is one that will be denied nonetheless by Kella, who have actually been playing very, very well today.
A fantastic response, especially when we talk about where they currently reside in EMEA as a whole. Typically, I mean, literally at the very bottom in 30th. Today's points alone will surpass everything they've been able to put up. Meanwhile, though, Fire Beavers are late rotators, heroes as they pull back, run right into their midst here. They are going to lose out on 1-4 now, but I think they have the time to revive. I doubt Kella's making this move forward.
Yeah, you gotta hope that nobody else pushes out onto you. As right now, lane and damage with the flatline. Oirain just makes sure that Joker can get back into the game. You want to stay strong as 3 members, and they're going for it right now. Oirain with the push inside the complete. He is felled. Babylon takes him down, and now you've got to pick up Oirain once again before the third party comes in.
Now with the shots concluding here, the sounds that be, no one else exists. It is prime loot here, and it makes me question, Kella, obviously clearly more interested in playing this one out from the height, catering towards that next goal, getting to some of those rocky exposures on that northern side. But it could have been a clearing of your backside.
Very surprising to see the way that plays out, and the fact that Fire Beavers again just dip themselves right back into the zone as well. A scan available for them to find out where everyone is. That's what Oirain's going for right now, and Fire Beavers are about to get a lot of information very quickly with still a minute left to rotate into the zone.
And this is the fascinating thing about this time, especially when we do take a look at their average split rotations. It's right around here, zone 2 to 3, where they have this extra information, they take their time, they get a controlling scan, and then out of nowhere, the acceleration to a position that is far more dominant, especially into zone 4, it always comes through for the Fire Beavers. I know they spend their time, I know it's late, but all that allows them to do so. And we actually had a discussion about not just the ring scans from earlier today, but potentially how they might be utilizing player scans as well.
Yeah, the really nice thing is that if you do have an idea of where the ring is going and you get that survey beacon, find out where all the enemies are, all of a sudden, you know the path of least resistance, where you have to deal with the least teams, where you can have the highest ground over them, and it eliminates so much guessing. Fire Beavers really making use of that here, and hopefully are going to be able to bring things back now that they've been able to pull off this trademark scan in, again, a style that they have been playing since the beginning of this split. Round up on the height, onto the macaroni building, find a decent bit of damage, but have to play things slow. Unfortunately, they don't have a whole lot of time to do so because the ring is closing, and this one is ring 3. It does not play games.
Now, clearly, I don't think they've gotten themselves a nice position alongside this bridge here, so they are forced to play for the underside. Now, granted, on the opposite side of that bridge, there is a tunnel that exists, but I don't even think they care about that right now. Maestro in their own bridge trouble, having to deal with Dynasty from above. Rug and Sanya are already eliminated. It's just Tax behind the cart, and there's nowhere he can go.
Quick, decisive fight from Dynasty, and now they have high ground, they have a small bridge to play, and one that's a whole lot easier to do so from. You have to worry about other squads rotating in from the edge, but so many have piled themselves up by Overlook.
Now, obviously, this, when you don't have Climatizer available, is probably your next best bet when we talk about the eastern ends that this zone does cater towards. Already right off the bat, though, Eternal stepping into a fight. A Mastiff in hands of Bambino will find one, but it's gotta keep ripping if Bambino wants to keep the dream alive. Oh, from behind, though, wiped out by Odie, and Aurora knows it's clearly time to take advantage.
You've seen enough blood spilled, and as you say, they full send it forward. Aurora will clean up the knocks. As to whether they'll be able to find that last member, however, remains to be seen. Hitting through the shields, no crack there. And Aurora back off, instead prioritizing the loot for now as Kella bite the dust. Fire Beavers taking them out.
On the opposite side, mind you, I find it so bizarre. We talk about Fire Beavers out towards south side, getting some of those scans, and suddenly now they're apparently on the opposite side of zone. When did that happen? How did they get there? The information has provided to you, and it is clearly let them move forward.
That combined with their Valkyrie just puts Fire Beavers in an excellent position, and one that looks like it's going to stay good as we do continue to pull up towards the north. V2 take their fight up on the Bridge of Death, and it looks to be going their way as Izadon claims space for the team. All this bridge is absolutely theirs, and Joki doesn't even have to expend the tactical because there's no one nearby anymore.
NM がワンピック取られた。
Pushing them off of the bridge is a major advantage, but it still isn't an access point into that next zone. In fact, those teams on the low are technically more equipped and better poised to make that rotation. It's just going to be V2 waiting this one out, looking to pierce their dagger where they see fit. Once they smell that weakness that lays ahead, 20 seconds to go here. The drop is necessary.
Check out the minimap as well for those future zones, as they're going to be determining a large part of not just how V2 play game, but everybody else who has to come from the southern side. Dynasty go down, unable to withstand the onslaught from Alliance, and V2 take a wide swing here to try and push up on this building. They're straight but gets taken down by Aurora.
Aurora here, but their plan has come to an end quickly before they even realized it. V2 from behind was just enough to set them up for potentially, yes, failure out in 12th here.
ちょっと外れたか。ちょっと外れたけど、本当にギリギリまで入ってる。
outside. I'll tell you what, they have made no moves whatsoever. They're happy to let this one play out around them, but I think it is finally time that we see their early game rotation bite.
And we're going to have to see the rotation truly come through, likely with this Catalyst wall as well, because they are being hard held out. The team in front of them not giving an inch over by this RV. And the wall, really the only way to break sight lines. As they look forward, few sentinel shots have already been thrown out by Artie.
さあ、ライアンさんヘッドを買わずに、やはりあの位置を生き残っている。J リーグでファイヤービーバーズが突っ込んでいって、おほ、よくね。あ、挟まれてたのか。あまりにも早かったよね。ホライズンと挟まれてたんだね。
Horizon Union are also early rotators. Just clean this one up. A simple 55 damage necessary. And now, hopefully, the rolling thunder that allows them to reset.
Oh my god, the game and gladiators roll up to this fight and they fry. Nobody's still up. Finally falling. Takes the fight into his own hands, taking down Horizon Union and hopefully resetting soon. Thermite taking away. But where's the third party? Not on our screen. There's so much else going on in Climatizer that no one can afford to look at the game and gladiators.
Game and gladiators with the most crucial, decisive moment of the game. They are the sole squad that remains on the outside of the zone. Everybody else, all 7 teams, hoisted well within Climatizer.
And playing this fence line for Game and Gladiators is so important. Alliance look down through the glass. They know how many teams they have to go through. I'm not sure what their tools will be. But with the new castle, Valkyr, they've got one tool that no one else does. We'll see if they make use of it.
Can they create the space? This is something that I asked of them coming off of Storm Point. We got a little bit of it last game, but they never quite were able to work their way into trials. They clearly see who's on the outside, and they know for a fact that if they want to win this game, they need to take it away.
Playing things slow
フェニックスレ
and
ガシーだのが取ってるが、エレメント6が上を取りに来た。たださすがにきついんじゃないそれ。さすがにきついね。ああ、ちげえちげえ、エレメント6が全部取ってる。強すぎ。よく取ったねそれ。全部今のしてアライアンスかと思った。ちげえわ。エレメント6が全部取ったんですか結局。いや、ホライゾン強いな、ああいう時。
Now what's going to get E6 out of this position? They're up on height.
これはでかいね。
overlooking Game and Gladiators.
But GG からの射線きついね。だいぶ広く取ってる GG が。
Looks like Vortex on that second floor.
これフェニックスレガシーが GG の位置に気づいて横から弾くってことは可能なんだよな。また気づけないだろうな。2人ってことに気づければな、横から弾いて位置取れるんだけど、ちょっとさすがにきつそうだな。
as that
フ
zone
ェニックス
forces
レガ
them
シーの位置
to
から
get
画面下側に移動して
Limited
って
time
いう
left,
ことはで
even
き
for
るん
those
だけど
on the height. Gaming
フリックといないと
Gladiators
さすがにわかん
know
ねえわ
that
な。
this game is putty in their hands right now, and they are hard focused up on the high ground. Nice shots with the G7, not a break yet, but Gaming Gladiators have to deal with this. Hardeki gets beamed from the side. A fragger taken out of the fight as Logri continues to zone out this squad. Slayers going down, and Gaming Gladiators refocusing as Arcstars rain in around them. Do they have cover? Can they survive? As every team from Climatizer is looking at them.
VCGO か VCGO が出てきてやった。やばい。もう GG がチャンピオンだこれは。確定です。GG チャンピオン確定です。
You have to hope these teams are now forced to fight against one another. It might be
あ、ただ
just a
KCP
little
が
too early.
カタリスト
KCP
体
with
系
their own
チャンピオン
sorts of
アンチ取り
action
に来た。
pin them
これで
in
GG を
between
潰
the
せれば
triangle
KCP はチャンピオンムー
here.
ブ。
They've lost out on Hardeki, and as a
一
3-man,
人やった。
they take out
でかい。
Artica.
Sabs rocks in here from behind.
さらに VCGO も語り、いや強いカタリスト。ここに来て GG が挟まれて一番きつい位置に。先ほど確定と言ったからあれは嘘だ。まさかカタリストを使ってくるとは。さあ上からエレメント6さっきワンダウン取られたのに起こしてホライゾンで帰ってきた。大逆転か。エレメント6大逆転。すげえ。
Back-to-back champions here on World's Edge. E6 pulled the trigger when it counts, and there were so many evolutions to the plan that be there for E6, from taking height away from Alliance off of their early rotation to trying to go to the low ground.
Using position to work with, and I think the problem, Zephyr, was that everyone else
いや
did
こ
that
こ
too.
取ったのもやばいんだけど。
It was a prime real estate available there, especially in the face of so many
ね、
catalysts
こ
in
こ
the
き
end
つ
zone,
かっ
which
たよ
you'll
ね、エ
see
レメント
here in a
6
moment.
ね。
We
もう一
did
人
lose
さ
out on
きつくて
J-Wings
起
in
こしきって
Horizon
そっから全部やったんだ
super
ここ
early
か
on
ら。
as they themselves knew how impressionable it was here.
これは相当嬉しいねこのチャンピオン。さあエレメント6が今回チャンピオンで2位まで一気に上がってきました。 VCGO はまた最終円まで生き残ったことによりポイントを伸ばし51ポイント1位。パイオニアーズも、最後近くまで、ね、ポイント伸ばしましたと。 V2 はちょっと落ち込んで早めに死んだけども貯金があったので37位。 GG が6位まで伸ばしたね。だからまあチャンピオンあと1試合でチャンピオンとしてはまあ V2 ぐらいまでかな。さすがに V2 ぐらいまでが1を取れるチャンスがあるね。他はまあ3位狙いぐらいかな。3位をまあ10位、まあ結構な人たちがチャンピオン取れば3位は狙える位置にあります。さあ見どころ満載。中継はどうですか。
Mobile Sierra, well, Amaze is trying to take a wide swing with a
ミリーだがマイストロ3人残ってる。パッション1人
Clearly
ダウン。
Taxis
確認
low,
取
but
りま
Rug
し
has
た。3 対
found
2。
himself in the hands of a nemesis
さあ
here.
衝動のダウンでアーマーが弱いから全然食らう
Find
チ
its
ャン
damage
スあ
whether
る。
you like it or not. A clear back-end rotation from Horizon to take
Number
this one
scammer.
to the low ground as a purple shield
Purple
picks up,
shield.
puts them back.
ただアライアンスが
Mind you,
アライアンスが
he's
お前ら
also
初動やってん
here.
の知ってんぞと言わんばかりに牽制を仕掛けてきた。
spare kills that I can pick up around here, and unfortunately Maestro can't really focus on defending as they have
そうな
to
んだよね。
take
初動ファイトや
down
ると
Amaze.
近く
Quick
のランド
drop
マッ
by
プのチームが
Tax,
さ
and it
確
should
実に
be
漁夫に
just
来るから
one more
絶対やら
member.
ない方がいいのに。
Maestro in control, keeping their eyes on the approach from, remember, not just Alliance, but Aurora as well, who were scouting this out.
Well, at least right now, they're in an even better position in comparison to what we just saw of that last game. Remember, they only picked up 0-0. This time around, it is a double. Now, granted, Horizon far
2
and
人ダウ
away
ン
already
ワン
starting
カ
to
ッ
make
キル
his
とワン
way
ダウンが
out.
入っ
And
てしまったんだ。
I would be incredibly shocked if the recovery on some of those
ブラスケアも
banners
来てたん
ever
だけど
comes
ね。
through
別
here.
の
It
システム入
might
ったの
just
か
be
な。
a final ratting to the day.
さあ
And
パ
there
ッ
are
ショ
some
ンは
positions that you can play. The
Kitsune.
unfortunate part of this is Seer at the moment is going to make your
さ
job
あ
as
圧
a
倒的にな
rat
ったことによりアライアン
exponentially
スからの
more
漁夫はな
difficult.
く
So
ま
playing
たゆっくり
positions
漁
that are
って
going
マ
to
イ
be
ストロは
infrequently rotated through, perhaps like the
しかもアンチが
landslide
割と寄
tunnel,
ってるか
as
ら
many teams will choose to avoid it, could be your saving grace, but
この
we'll
衝
see
動を
how
かけたのは
long
非常
we're
にで
able
かい
to survive as the last remaining member of Passion. Meanwhile, Phoenix Legacy, they've started their early quick rotate in right past the cute little fence on the low ground, and that must mean Zephyr only one thing, that the zone is pulling us towards the south.
いつ
You
も
can
弱いな
already
このチ
see
ー
it
ム
on the
かわいそう
mini-map.
に
The rotations have come through. Phoenix Legacy being a great litmus test for that, being how quickly they rotate out of landslide. And they don't even care about Maestro as it stands. And meanwhile, a redeploy right alongside them. Will this force them to continue moving back towards that tunnel? I think it does.
No, I thank God we have a reason. They wouldn't want to lose Imp though, and they are one shot away from doing so. Well-placed wingman would take out Imp, and it's going to have to be a quick bit of healing on this low ground expenditure of resources. And Phoenix Legacy gotta keep putting it in. They don't have time to stop and take these big heals. Just playing it moment by moment. Unfortunately enough, Maestro will distract a little bit on the squad that was firing at them for staging.
Now, as we do kind of get a little bit of a broader understanding of this zone, it does seem like we'll be kind of more out here towards this area from Harvester down towards Tree, or else you wouldn't see Phoenix Legacy make this rotation. If it was back towards Thermal Station, they would have taken that tunnel, set up on those high ground buildings. So I expect to see the majority of our teams directly out here, potentially already set up. You can clearly see some redeploys coming through. You might be right.
Yeah, despite how quickly Phoenix Legacy love to move, the reality is that coming from the north as they are, they're going to be late if it's a southern zone, and this is where squads are really tested. We've seen E6 replicate back-to-back wins when we're pulling up towards the north, when their rotations are pretty darn similar. This time around, E6 are going to have to play a very different game, as will every squad that chooses to approach from that northern side. Notably, E6 still hanging out in Sky, taking their time, rotating slowly and likely just straight up playing edge for the first couple rings.
They don't need an explosive game here. The team that lies ahead of them also in a similar situation. Vortex stuck in Overlook right now. So both of these teams having to play through from edge alongside, hey, even Fire Beavers, who are just as to it when it comes to Fragment West here.
Fire Beavers are like, thank God we get to play Edge. Oh my God. Playing zone is just not for us. And at the moment, their rotation through into Harvester could actually net them a decent amount of cleanup kills as the game goes on. A good look at launch site as well. People are starting to pile up here. No harm, no foul for one of these squads that do choose to coexist right next to each other, but a single misstep could cost you your life, especially in a world where we have the nemesis that so often rips through health bars.
I look towards more directly, though, that tree area seems to be the largest cadence of where our squads find themselves in terms of that rotation. Could either be potentially deep tree towards that south side, given how much of the zone also leaves launch site in as well, or potentially one of those kind of western finishes that we get with that train line where you have the double height as well as some of those no-name buildings out there towards the west.
E6 starting to rotate in simultaneously. As you talked about, Vortex going to be making their way through the choke points and into Lava Siphon. We've got Heroes playing a less aggressive game than they've been in times past, choosing to play passive in launch site, farm up their Evos while they can, and likely plan for the rotates ahead. But I take a look at that free cam, and it looks like we've got an Ash Tether going out, which means the Lions have gone back to the old and gold.
I don't know if the Newcastle has found its success. Instead, they're opting for the quick, expedient rotations that come alongside this one here. These are that no-name Western buildings that we talked about early on. Already breaking through with that charged up rampage. Haven't quite found a sight line yet.
Passion, our first squad to go down, is finally found Horizon. Tried their best, I'm sure, but as Fire Beavers are the ones to clean up the kill, it's only natural that those that wander around the edge of the ring looking for kills will eventually find you. The Pioneers have no space to play right now. They've given up so much that Natsuki even takes an angle that is just illegal, letting Effect rip through with the 99 and putting Lions large and in charge. Effect!
Alliance here. They
マジ
send
で
it
強えな
forward,
こ
but
い
they
つ。
finally get the information they need. I'll tell you what, we saw a statistic just a little moment
バル
ago
の
here.
戦闘うますぎ
Even
る
though
な。
Alliance aren't quite in that top first, second, or third
でも
position,
建物戦における
Effect is still the
バ
kill
ルの戦闘がう
leader
ます
in
ぎる。
this lobby today.
Effect picked up all 3 of those kills. He did not everything, but I mean, when we look back at the record, history will say that Effect did everything, and Alliance absolutely benefiting from it. Their move to a more perhaps aggressive composition already looking really good. For Heroes, however, who were playing passive, they've pushed up a little bit too far and lost Bacco. Can they recover from this fight as Babylons is forced to sell? Not Bat for the purple, and he's got no effective health to work with. Quick swing out of this Seer has Fraz frying, but needs a little bit more damage to take down Heroes once and for all and put Nightmare back on the map.
まあナイトメア
I'll
最
tell
後
you
の
what,
試合
you're
で今
thinking
20位
seven
だ
there.
か
He's
ら
got that knockdown in a
ポ
prime
イントを
position, and
稼い
it
で稼いで
forces the assault
10位とか
of
その辺
Heroes
まで
to
上げ
come
ていきた
through
いね。
something that's taken advantage of in the beam from Nightmare.
20位と
Hopefully,
10位
this
だと
game
ね
routing
プレ
a
イスメン
little
トポイン
bit
トだい
more
ぶ違う
successful
から
than the
ね。
rest of what we've seen today. I think that is, albeit maybe their only major 3v3 that they have taken handedly in their lonesome here across their 6 games today.
Have been really good at finding places to third party, and yet so often teams just show up as well. It's a very common thing. And now Nightmare perhaps getting the scan. They do have Survey Beacon right next to them. Seems to be the plan. Should be able to pick up at least the information necessary to move themselves into tree should they desire. Vortex's slow rotate, however, has brought them all the way to the southern tip of Lava Siphon, and hopefully an area that will also carry them forward into the next ring.
I think it's a happy spot for them as it currently stands. We talk about the next necessary rotation. Even if they want to keep playing this hideout directly over here, they have the opportunity to do so. Now, granted, you're not getting any of the major tree spots, but when we do talk about that village down below, the rocks and everything in between, there's a lot of covered space that you can slowly shore your way into, even if you're arriving here as late as Vortex. And I'll tell you what, Dio, they're very likely to slow things down here. They know all they need is one decent, good game to keep them on top, to make history for the Vortex roster.
Gotta play things slow as J-Lings do lie directly ahead of them. Valkold, as always, available as it is for so many of these squads, and maybe just Vortex's plan is they're all gonna link up and try and circumvent J-Lings this way. It's risky to do this effort.
It's incredibly difficult at this point, but I did talk about some of the spaces on the outside. You picked the right one. It's very unlikely teams have angles, but that ain't it. That's a that's right into the damage there. They just walk into potentially their end. Instead, he's now Roman, the last remaining member, and he's being down. Vortex are down in 17th.
That is just plain and simple. You talk about an effort. There's the right decision. There's the wrong decision. And going into the fence line, no information, costs Vortex their lives. You don't get the chance to make a lot of mistakes in Apex Legends. These teams are ready to punish because this is the pro level and nothing is going unforgiven. It's going to be a quick pickup as around the outside. You do have the opportunity to benefit from this as Danish are going to get a bunch of shield swaps to use if fights break out in their direction. Another Ash Tether means the Alliance are rocking up, and they're going to be playing, perhaps not gatekeepers, but they're looking for third parties around the south.
Wrapping around this end, though, can be incredibly difficult. Effect back up on the height of the Valkyrie. Going to start to try to take some of those early angles in response. It's none other than E6 in second place here. It's dramatic irony. The info that they don't have, but so crucial to the state of this game's narrative.
でアライアンスもここでエレメント6を潰しちゃえば1位に潰しちゃえばキルポとチャンピオンで1位狙える位置に
They don't have really anything that they can do as E6 are controlling so much ground by extending Slayers out and even using Swinny out towards the south, kinda out towards the, I guess, Swinny out towards the north, kinda out towards the south. There we go, to control both Tree and Thermal at the same time. A lot of space here, and if Slayers gets collapsed upon, that's where the dominoes start to fall.
Still though, massive height advantage. Positionally, this is the spot you want to be. Slayers, Not quite getting the read off, but clearly knows what is necessary. They have the prime angle to get rid of that exhibit as well, which is going to give them an extra advantage, knowing that that cooldown no longer available. But Swinny is paying the price, taking time with the bat. A tether found. Alliance send it forward for their first knock.
This is a good start for them, and we did say exactly this. Being able to pick up the knock onto players changes everything for Alliance. It even changes everything for E6 as they get third-party instantly with Swinny the last member standing. There's not a lot that he can do but hide and pray that this does not become a focus. And we know this high ground will eventually become one.
You know, it's a great spot, one that you could have hoped to have held with both of your teammates, but with Sears in play, there's no such thing as a wrap on World's Edge. He takes it to tree direct, and I have to hope that we'll be seeing him towards the end of our game here. Alliance, though, they've guaranteed themselves some movement forward.
Just holding out the edges at the moment. Alliance know they've been in these situations before where they've been literally climbed on from behind in almost this exact scenario. So Alliance are going to be looking, waiting, playing patiently as they continue their slow approach from the north. They already know Dynasty are in the area. And with the control of these rocks, they actually do have plenty of time. This next zone is their only concern, while Nightmare have a lot more pressing matters at hand. 7 gets a shield swap for 25 HP. And this is not a Nightmare that survives this scenario. 7, lucky to have the gold, is likely going down soon.
Taking his time, though, not pushing out just yet. Still has the opportunity for defense. With what I believe is mobile respawn potentially, or coming down here, minor playable space available. Meanwhile, Alliance back through the opposite end of the tunnel. We know Maestro is the squad that have been hosting this spot fairly early on. I prefer hike here into a zone like this, but it would be incredibly beneficial to clear out the squad you know you can test later on from below.
Quick tether from Hackies does open things up, but as you say, not enough damage to be found. That Alliance are considering other options, seeing what else they could do. And remember, they do have both the Ashe and the Valkyrie for both micro and macro rotates to take them out into the open. The problem is that it's into the open.
Into the open, and that's why they bide their time. Nightmare, though, couldn't quite wait any longer. And instead, we tune in with Swinny, hoping to stay alive. The placements have started, but the charge rifles are coming out just as quickly here. Couple shield cells, but still pinched off from a single pixel away.
Hoping to avoid the sight lines for now. Could pick up a kill here if he plays this right. Swinny's already secured an additional point for the squad by surviving into 14. And right now needs to blaze cards, and he doesn't get the knock. Still, relatively safe position for E6. And with Maestro on the inside right now, there's always the option to try and get involved in this engagement later.
But E6 finally pushed upon here. Sadly, in their last showing after 2 incredibly dominant games, they never quite pushed past the necessary placement and will not usurp a first place position today. Vortex still at 51 in the lead, but plenty of other challenging squads to potentially take that one away.
Zone's closing now, and Alliance still haven't decided how exactly they want to go about this. They don't have a whole lot of angles that they can take on height. They haven't opened up things for Maestro on the low ground. They're being choked out of this game by teams just not allowing them a section in, and we may very well see desperation Valkyrie soon.
It's tough to say here, but obviously with that takeaway from Kella, they have to move forward. They have no choice. Dynasty on the opposite angle. They're hoping that this 3v3 takes place before they ever have to move in. But with that zone constantly closing, the exhibit's down. Potentially necessary.
Effect barely alive right now, has to stay up. Watch for the thermites that don't bite in. Instead, it's the smoke that takes him down. Dynasty find that first knock. Quick portal out, and great, nice quick thinking from Hackies. Does have to defend on this knockdown shield. Keep effect in the game. Nade starting to collapse in. Dynasty smell blood, but they don't want to overpush on this.
They barely have an effective
いやー
position.
素晴らしい。
You are actually thanking
うまい
Kella
足
for
だったね
their
今。
current spot on the edge of this spire. Because of that, Dynasty can't
も
move
とも
in.
と
They
レース
can't
使っ
take
てる
height.
から
They can't go for the push
レ
here.
ースっ
The
ぽい使い
minute
方
they
した
come
ね。
forward, their backside is immediately assaulted upon. Now, granted, it's going to be a reset for Alliance, but it doesn't get much better. It's either going to be the fight, or it might be time to force the Valve to rotate.
It feels so bad that we've been looking at Alliance and
さあ
saying that time
V2
and time again,
3位ま
but
で来てる。
it's just
と、あ、
becoming their only
GG
option
も
so
めっちゃ上げてき
slowly
て
is
るね。
now to push up. You'd have to fight not just the one squad, but
で
two
まだ
of them
10位
that
だ
are
から
both hard
プレスメント
scoped
はまだ
on you
もう見
around
ると
this
して。
corner. Meanwhile, Eternal hold the RV and a very powerful
いや
position
こ
at
れ
that.
1位狙いたい
It
ぞ。
doesn't get much better on that
V2
side. We'll have to
GG.
tune in later for V2 versus Horizon Union. They've got height to climb, and
V2
Horizon
J
have
Ring
been laying
Alliance
down
らへん
control
は
here for the remnants of this zone. A Dark Veil
1
gives
狙
them
える。
coverage for now, but they've already lost out on YOLO.
And now you do
GG
not
と
have
ブリッツ
this
かな。
defensive
いやただ
cooldown
いや
when
団
you
子
start
団
to
子
push into
団
the
子団
zone.
子。
You're not only fighting a 2v3, you're fighting a
V2 が一番
literal
近いけど、でも
uphill
ワンダウン取られ
battle,
てる。
and you don't have any safe cooldowns to use. Izdan going to be forced in very soon. Has found a small place to play in the
団
zone,
子
so
だね。いや
V2
逆に
may
言うと
very
でもど
well
の
be
チームも
able to
3位を狙い
survive
に行
on
ける。
this low ground counter to expectations.
3
And
位、
mind
2位
you,
まで
they're
狙いに行けるな。
actually maybe going to get a rotation thanks to the distraction
51
of
でしょ。
Alliance
51
here.
と50だか
Kella
ら。
going down on height. Horizon trying to take some of their own. They don't actually quite get
こ
the
こから
damage
キル
down in
ポ
that
と
little
12ポイン
pocket
ト
where
で
you can
どの
currently
チームも
see
1位
the
狙えます。
smoke that Alliance exist in. Instead, they've got angles. They've got a perfect line of sight on V2.
いやアライアンス
And
復帰した。
Bangalore is
で
the
上から
solution
ま
they
た
were
キルポ
looking
稼いでい
for.
く。
To Valky's over to get a little bit of smoke on them is the perfect thing for
いやエフェクト
Alliance
さ
because it allows
エ
them
フェク
to
トさ
make
キル
plays
稼
like
ぎすぎよ。
this. Now in the top 7, they've still got height, retaining that, and though they don't have
いや
vision, they
あーエフェクト
certainly have
やばい
angles
キル
on
ポ
the
か
low
っきる
ground.
だけかっ
Losing
き
it
るだけ
back.
うわーただ
Can
別
they
させ
recover? Yuki
かっ
gets
きるだけ
tried,
取られた
has
くない
to back off, and with the shield bat still necessary, he's the last one standing. He's gonna drop down, try and clutch it out.
うわー
Yuki
全部
do
や
it.
り
He
きった
cannot.
ホライゾンユニオン
Alliance are shut down by Horizon Union.
Horizon, they wait, they find the perfect moment, they move forward. You can't say the same though for Game and Gladiators. Instead, it's
オーロラ
Aurora
が
finally
3人は
out
生き
from
残
their
っ
building
たアマサ
that
ッ
are
プ終
able
了
to
したがエタ
capitalize,
ーナル
but
が
they themselves eyes
よく
upon
行こうとして
train
る。
Eternal in
いやこれ
range.
J リ
Oh,
ン
and
グが
hey,
有利
J
かな
Nice height.
This is like the
V2
picture
がどこいるんだ
perfect place
一生
for both Eternal and J-Links, and
生き残ってる
I
の知っ
can't
てる
help
んだ
but
けど
look at this and be
死んだ
envious
か
of J-Links because their height is wonderful with so many squads that are going to have to
4チームだ。
move in. A big threat to them, of course.
これ順位意
Horizon
外と変わ
off
んないか
to
も
the
な。
side, and we'll see what they're able to do about it.
Horizon Union が
As
40
zones
ポイント。
starting to close in,
結果団
J-Links
子で上
control
位に上がってって
everything.
感じ1位と2位変わんない
Got
かもしれない
themselves
な
a nice pull that lies
潰
just
し合い
out
すぎ
and
たな
ahead. So many of these teams will come out from the woodworks and they may be able to put
大
damage
量キ
down.
ル取れてない
That's
ぞ
on
この
that
チームも
off angle, taking damage, might have to pull away. Clearly scanned out the push from above.
うまい
The coverage
Noise
from
it.
noises.
Laser precision from J-Links, knowing that they just have to hold out Horizon Union. Nags is able to recover, albeit barely, and J-Links continue to thrive on the high ground. Urban doing his
いや
best
J リ
to
ングが一方
retain the
的だ
position for his squad, is unable to as they fall.
いや
Aurora
これ降りる
still
前
in
に
this,
全部やりき
but
りたい
Horizon Union gone. 3 squads left, and Eternal and J-Links aren't going
降りる
anywhere.
前にちょっとでも削りた
J-Links
い
need the win. They need the win to come out on top today. But their height has finally petered out.
あ下にいたのを気づかなかったねあーそれ気づかなかったね
Who plays there? The instant drop caught them so off guard, and Aurora want to make this push, but only have
い
2
や
members
Aurora が
to
取
do
り
so.
切った
Yet they pull it off. Aurora
いや
fighting
J リ
to
ング
win
が
in
下に
Game
気づかな
6
かった
when they needed it the most.
A fire.
Than a half a
さ
second
あ
later,
最
they
終
drop
的
down.
には逆転にはいやアライアンスとかね7キルだったからいったら逆転あったけど結果変わらず結果全体的にグッと上がっただけこの辺全部ポイント取ったもんねこの辺グッと上がっただけでいや珍しいよだって6試合やって60ポイントいかないの珍しいよ普通60いくからね平均でねだからそれだけ団子でした今回ねえだから15位まで29ポイント取ってるからね まあ、VCGO エレメント6。いやエレメント6だから逆に言うとあと1ポイントで打っていけたんだけどね。で J リング V2 パイオニアアライアンス GG これです。なんかどこのチーム見どころというかキルを稼いでみたいなのがちゃんと活躍があった結果だね。めっちゃ拮抗してたねこの B と C をね。めちゃめちゃどこ勝つか分かんなくて面白かったと思います。さあということでEMEA の Day7 見終わりました。明日 NA の Day7 を配信していきたいと思いますのでよろしくお願いいたします。ではこの辺で配信終わりたいと思います。バイバイ。